Do you know the number one thing that surprises engaged couples? Take a guess. The sheer amount of decisions they have to make while planning a wedding. Indoors or outdoors? How many guests? Are kids invited? Controversial. Which cake flavor? Seriously, how do you even begin to figure out what's right for you? That's where Zola comes in. Zola has everything you need to make every wedding decision a piece of cake, from choosing your dream wedding venue and vendors to deciding how to best spend your budget. With tons of customizable wedding websites, save the dates and invites, every detail will feel like you. Zola will even help you choose the gifts, experiences, and cash funds you really want. The next thing you know, you've planned your whole wedding all in one place. From getting engaged to getting married, Zola has everything you need to plan your wedding in one place. Start planning at Zola.com. That's Zola.com.
You are now listening to the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello there, and welcome back to another Thursday. Merry Christmas to everybody, and happy Honda Days to everybody that doesn't celebrate Toyotathon. For the first time on a Thursday night, something that I've been wanting to get for a very long time, we finally have the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Brian Saur. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. Too much. But I appreciate being here, and I'm sorry it's taken so long. This is how many years have you been doing this?
Just over 3 now.
Wow, that's impressive. Incredible.
And I think we've been doing that. We've been trying to do this for those 3 years.
I know. Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for waiting. I know I will disappoint. Let's go.
You certainly will not. We have lots of people that messaged me today, said they were excited for you to be on the channel. Multiple people already commenting that. Excited to have you here. You are literally one of the greats. Established Just the Discs. As everybody started coming to this hobby, and I at the time I was immersed in the hobby, but not doing things publicly like this. And you were always somebody that we could always look up to. And I've got many fond memories of driving to work and listening to you and Brendan Small talk about releases, and you and Stephanie Crawford laughing about special features together. And it's burned into my brain the number of times we've spent hours on commutes together.
Oh, that's so nice to hear, man. I got to get both of them back on the show. I have lost my mojo when it comes to guests. I haven't done that as much, and I feel bad about it.
It's difficult. It's super difficult.
It is. It's hard. Scheduling is hard, and you do it, and so I'm even more impressed.
Truth be told, I think I've got right now 4 interviews completed. I'm hoping for free time to edit them. Who knows when they'll come out?
You are a busy man, sir, and I admire all your obviously the show I love and all the stuff your endeavors. In fact, one of them may come up, although I didn't get a chance to check it out yet, but it's as part of a release I may talk about later. So
nice. I'm excited to hear. We're going to cover all of our normal segments tonight, go over recent watches, recent pickups, do all the announcements. But something that Brian and I have always tried to do on our respective shows is highlight some of the lesser discussed titles, things that people are overlooking. And as this is literally the last show of 2024, we talked about doing 5 titles that we think are going to be kind of forgotten that came out this year. So we're going to cover some of those. And then, of course, both Brian and I always cheat, so we've got a couple honorable mentions to talk about too. But first, before we get into all of the fun stuff, let's do some promo. Obviously, you've got Just the Disc that most people probably know about. But Pure Cinema Podcast is the hottest podcast in the world. Tell everybody what's been going on with that.
It's been a tricky year, exciting year for us because Ulrich made a movie and I still haven't seen it, although there is some hope that I may get to see it in February. I'm very excited about that. But yeah, so that changed our dynamic a little bit in terms of we haven't been able to stack shows. Like this time of year, we'd normally have a bunch of episodes ready to go, but it's just been a little tricky. But we have our Discoveries episode in the can, and that's one of my favorites to do. We'll have that out in a couple weeks, and But yeah, it's been fun. Started the year hanging out with Mr. Tarantino at his house, talking about the Vista and Technicolor, and ended the year talking about Discoveries, and that's just exactly where I'd like to be. So
it's kind of a perfect year.
yeah, it's been fun.
And during this year, I got to meet you. That was pretty damn fun.
That was amazing and so cool. And I got to meet Jeremy too, and I've hung with Jeremy like at least 3 or 4 times since then, and that's been super neat.
Sorry.
He is a sweetheart, and he hits all the screenings in town. Like he just about anything. Him and Alex. I've seen Alex at a few screenings too.
Yeah,
which has been great.
Alex is a busy man. That guy,
absolutely.
He will go to everything he possibly can.
Yeah, both those guys, I'm impressed by how much they get out to, and I just don't. So
yeah, that's very, very true.
And I met Stan. Yes.
And we got to see one of the year's greatest films together in a theater, Trap.
So great. But it was a fun experience. Just going with everybody. That was just an absolute blast.
We had almost a full row of a big movie theater.
I know. It was great, man. I love that kind of thing. I miss that.
Yeah.
That reminds me of like, even in my college days, I didn't have that big of a crew. So it was pretty cool, I gotta say. It
was kind of slammed together at the last minute, so I love it. Let's do some recent pickups. What have you been getting in lately?
Let's see. What have I been getting in lately? I got something over here. I didn't prepare this, but I just got The Addiction 4K. So that's one. I'm trying to think if there's anything. There might be a few that I might almost talk about in the later segments. I mean, that's a spoiler for. Sorry, a couple of these are spoilers for my discoveries, but I got the Torso 4K. I got that from it was a sale that I can't remember. I got Horrors of the Black Museum. Yep. I got Bloodline, which I still haven't watched. I mean, obviously none of these I've watched. This is a weird one. I picked up this DVD based on one of the what Scarecrow was doing their employee picks, and one of the gals there talked about this Lords of the Gourd gigantic pumpkin growers documentary, and I was like, what the hell is that? And it's a PBS home video. It's not streaming anywhere, so it's only like an hour long, but I'm like, I gotta check that out.
Nice.
I think you know what, I think I talked about this on the show, but I want to talk about it again because it's great. I got this from Found Footage Film Festival site. This is Mark Borchart's second movie, The Dundee Project. Wow. And it's signed by Mark, which is great. And this one's, a lot of people aren't talking about this. American Movie is obviously a great showcase for him. He did Coven, which is sort of highlighted in there. He's working on Northwestern, but he actually made this other documentary project about this town in Wisconsin where they meet and talk about UFOs. And it's fascinating stuff. You can order this DVD from the Found Footage Film Festival site, or you can get a digital download. And it's just as fun as that sounds, with Mark Borchardt interviewing dudes who love UFOs, so definitely worth your time. What about you, man?
I got a couple to highlight here. So I love how every year for my kids to buy me Christmas presents, my wife just tells them, here's his Amazon wish list, do what you want. And it makes me be able to tell great stories, like my 8-year-old getting me this Criterion release of Rosetta, this wonderful foreign cinema verite piece that I've been dying to see for quite some time. And then he won't be able to watch it for years and years, but the other kid got me the In-Betweeners movies, 1 and 2.
Oh, wow. Stuff I haven't even heard of.
From over in the UK. And then my wife went to Atomic Movie Store, shout out Atomic, who's great, and picked up this deluxe special edition from the UK of Oppenheimer.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Steelbook on the inside, a big booklet. And then the last thing, this year started up the Mondo Macabro podcast, and we had Tim Paxton on, who is an Indian cinema expert. And one of the things that he shouted out was this film called Boot, Bhoot. Put it in my wish list, and because it was at the top, my wife said, I mean, that's a must. And here it is. Now I get to watch it. I'm excited about that. And then the last thing that came in this week, A Bridge Too Far, brand new from Imprint on 4K.
Nice.
Their big hard box releases. You can see loaded with extra features, multiple discs. You got a big booklet, 4K disc, Blu-ray disc, pretty nice size booklet, probably about 40-ish pages. I am stoked to see this huge cast: James Caan, Michael Caine, Sean Connery, Elliot Gould, Gene Hackman. A bunch of people we're actually going to be talking about tonight in many of our announcements. So some really cool stuff.
That's awesome. You didn't get Convoy, did you?
I did not get Convoy yet.
Are we hoping for a domestic 4K of that? That's kind of what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I'm. Kino is kind of following up most imprint stuff, so I'm betting they'll get it eventually. Just the odds are when, and some of them they can't license in the US. So I don't know. It's a crapshoot sometimes.
I'm obviously also hoping for Never Ending Story.
You didn't pay $200 for the 5 pound?
I was thinking about it. It looks great. I've seen enough videos that I'm like, but I don't really need it. But I would like the movie in 4K, so I'm kind of like, I'll wait. Maybe.
I would love to do it, but also I'm already out of room. I don't know. I don't know where I would put it.
It's huge. You're right. It's gigantic.
It's one of those things you need a special shelf for. And yeah, I've got some, but like I also have the Columbia Classics collections taking up that space already.
Did you get the Frank Capra? That's the other one people are talking about. I saw Heath praising that on his.
You mean this gorgeous set?
Look at that thing! Oh my!
But it's also so uniquely shaped with this little chin that it's got going on. So it's meant to be. It's meant to sit on your shelf and literally present itself. So the bottom juts out, so you can look into it and be like marveled at the show that you're seeing. And that's crazy. It literally, when it sits flat, it's presented to you. It is such a well thought out design.
Oh, man, I'm really, really tempted by that one. It's so much stuff.
The only reason I have it is one of the I think it's a front for Alliance Distribution. Their eBay stores. They were doing a buy 2 get 20% off, and it's way cheaper than anywhere else.
Oh wow!
And it was already lower than everyone else. So another 20% on top of that was like, well,
do they still have any in stock? I'm just curious.
They do.
Okay, we're gonna have to talk about this later. Very good. Very good.
What about some recent watches? You've been home without anybody else in the house. I'm sure you've been watching quite a bit.
I mean, tons of stuff. I had the most watching. It's not necessarily a good thing. Like, I'm not bragging about it because it's kind of like it numbers like this bode the question, or make you ask, like, how much time did you spend with your child in 2024? Because it doesn't seem like, right now I'm at like 1,058 movies for the year, and that's my most I've ever done. I've never broken 1,000 movies, and like I said, I think it speaks to my mental state. I think there's a lot of things wrong with watching that many. No, I'm okay. I'm not. Anybody that's doing that is great, but for me, I'm just like, I don't know. So, well, again, there's some stuff today that I watched that may come up in our later segment, but. Let me just look at what stands out here for me. I mean, okay, so this is kind of funny. I don't know what brought this on. I think partially because my wife's out of town,
right,
with my daughter. I told you this story. My daughter doesn't fly, so they took a train to Chicago, which is a 48-hour train ride, and then one way, exactly. In a very small roomette, Anyway, so they're gone through almost the beginning of the year, and so for whatever stupid reason, I started thinking about romance movies, and then I was like, and part of this comes from Thanksgiving when I watched You've Got Mail for the first time, and I actually really liked it. There's just this thing about me and 90s romantic comedy Hollywood stuff that I just was so snobby in college when I was at the video store that I just avoided all of it, and I hadn't watched it. And so I made this list of movies that I was like big 90s romantic films. And I started watching some of them. I decided, like, okay, I'll put together this list. I'll try and do one a day. This is something I do sometimes when I'm trying to pass time. In this case, my wife will be gone for almost 2 weeks. So I'm like, I'll try and do one of these a day, just sort of for my own whatever. And so I watched like I Could Never Be Your Woman with Michelle Pfeiffer and Paul Rudd, who's absolutely adorable in this movie. That one, directed by Amy Heckerling. I'd never seen it. Really, really fun, really sweet romantic comedy. And then a bunch more on this list. So I watched like Under the Tuscan Sun, which I really liked, with Diane Lane. Nice. And then I watched, this one just blew me. I finally watched The Holiday which is, a movie everybody's
Great
seen.
movie.
Yeah, and I just was like, what a sweet film this is, and why did I avoid it for so long? What an ass to be so snobby as to avoid. I think also you're in such a different place as you get older that you're just like,
Yeah.
I got emotional watching that movie. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't help that my wife's not here. So like that definitely was a part of the emotion, but also I'm so susceptible to this stuff. So I've got a bunch more of those that I've been working through, but those are some of the highlights of that I like to do little projects sometimes. We're kind of, because Elric's, he's out of the country on vacation right now. We don't really have we have a new episode, but I'm already kind of ready for that one. And we don't necessarily know what we're doing after that. So I need to focus on something. So sometimes I'll create projects that may have nothing to do with podcasts and just kind of decide, okay, I'm going to throw together this list and run down this list. So that's one of the things I've been working on.
Well, the only watch I had this week that wasn't a Christmas movie, which there was many of those that were watched over the last week, of course. I think a possibly new Christmas movie for many people to watch for years to come is one that we both watched. You got to see Nosferatu in 35mm at the New Bev. I saw it today with the one and only John DeMarco, broadcast director of the Mets. He happened to be in Kansas City for Christmas. We got to go see it together. We're not going to get into spoilers, but it's also a remake of a literal 100-year-old film. So what are some thoughts on the surface for Nosferatu?
I mean, I don't want to be too negative. I was a touch disappointed story-wise, but visually it's stunning. It's a beautiful film that has so many shots that are just so gorgeous. I was really taken with that. But it's a weird one because I've seen some people a little less positive and some people like Sean Baker saying like favorite movie of the year, Oscar nominations for the cast, which is great. It didn't quite hit me in that way. I'm not sure. I'm guessing you probably went for it pretty good, right?
I honestly feel almost exactly like you.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I thought it was gorgeous to look at, but the second act kind of weighed itself down quite a bit. It got a little dialogue heavy, and when you're going with a very beautiful movie, it is one that you take away from that when you're focusing on the dialogue. I got to admit, LeRose Depp, did not expect her to be able to act like that. She was pretty damn incredible in it. I was pretty happy with the last 5 minutes of the movie. Really incredible climax.
No, it was good. That part was good. You're right.
Yeah. But one thing that we were talking about before we went live, this is a very dark movie, and I don't mean like bleak, which it is, but I mean literally like the screen is black for like a lot of the movie. I'm sort of worried about what this is going to look like on home video for a lot of people, because it literally will be difficult to make some of the scenes out. And for people that don't have like a really high-end OLED, this movie is probably going to be one that they kind of hate the visuals of.
Yeah, there were definitely moments with even this 35 print that I saw where I was kind of like, what is going on in the frame right now? I think I know, but it wasn't fully clear. And clearly that's by design. But I was not used to that for a new movie. It seems like they tend to be not blown out because there's all kinds of varieties of lighting in new films, but I haven't come across a new film recently where I'm like, I can't see what's going on here. That just hasn't happened a lot. So very intriguing on that level, but you're right. I don't know, streaming, it's going to be dicey and physical. Yeah. Very curious what it's going to look like unless you've got a 4K.
I was already counting out the streaming. That was already going to be bad.
Yeah. Probably not going to work.
No. Yeah. There's so much more I want to say about it. And the sad part is like seeing it in a theater. Yes, it's very dark. So I appreciated being able to see that, but I also really think it would have benefited from having subtitles through the whole film for me. There's certain scenes where you could tell like, not speaking over each other, but there's like ambiguous words that they could have been using, and it would have benefited a little bit for me.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'll say is that like leading up to this, I keep asking everybody, are you a witch person or are you a lighthouse person? I'm a lighthouse person. So when, like, for instance, when Sean Fennessy was on our calendar episode where we talked about this, he said he's a lighthouse person a bit more. and he liked it. So I guess what I was hoping for was something a little weirder, if that makes sense. Like, it's not that weird. Like, I mean, it's I don't want to say it's fully faithful. He's doing a lot of interesting things with the narrative pieces, but ultimately I didn't feel like I was seeing anything I hadn't really seen before.
Right.
And that was, I guess, for him, I wanted some weirdness, you know. I'm like, make it weird, man. I know you can be weird. And so I guess like expectations were a killer for me, and I was just kind of like hoping for a little more Lighthouse than The Witch. And I don't know The Witch is weird too. So I'm like, it's more conventional than both in that sense, you know. I mean, it is a studio film versus the other ones, which aren't as much. I mean, what did he make? Lighthouse was A24 too, right?
Lighthouse was A24. Northman was studio, I think.
And I still haven't seen that. Partially for that reason.
And honestly, I had a lot of the same thoughts that I do about Nosferatu. Is it felt very polished and very not The Witch or Lighthouse. And for a lot of people, that might be a good thing, as in it was evolving positively. For me, I wanted something much more like The Lighthouse or The Witch. Yeah. And for me, The Witch is still tops. I think The Witch is like maybe top 5 from the last 20 years even. But I would say Lighthouse is pretty close, and then Northman is a few notches down. But Nosferatu, definitely better than Northman for me.
Yeah. No, I mean, I would imagine so. I just have a weird aversion to Viking films. I know it sounds strange because I like just about anything. But Viking films weirdly don't always work for me, and I cannot explain it. So I haven't seen a lot of Viking films. I got to give it a look at some point, but if it's more conventional stuff, I don't know. It's just like it's not high on my list personally.
And again, like I thought the Northman looked good, just like this looks good. But I don't know. It almost feels too polished to a point.
I could see that. Absolutely. Yeah. Too polished, too conventional isn't quite the right word, because it's a pretty dark movie, but still, yeah, it just felt a little more mainstream than I was hoping for personally. But still a movie go out and see it, because my gosh, the cinematography is just incredible. Some of those shots I'm like, wow, it just blew me away.
Right. I'm going to put you on the spot now as somebody that is into film and physical media like all of us. What is the thing exciting you about physical media right now?
What is exciting me about physical media? That is a good question, and a very broad one at that. And
it's meant to be. As we're coming to the end of the year, you could apply themes to the year, but as somebody that's done it for years, why do you and I still do it? What excites you about this?
I think what excites me about physical media, in part, I mean, it's tough because a lot of the stuff I'm collecting I have seen, but for instance, one thing that I wasn't necessarily going to bring up because I don't know where it stands in terms of, being celebrated this year, but this Whistler box set, the Columbia Noir #6, probably hands down my favorite physical release of the year. And part of that has to do with this. I didn't know this series of films. So discovery is a big part of it for me, and finding new films is a big part of it, or seeing older films with a fresh eye and a new transfer. Very nice. Yes. Weird aversion to Viking films indeed. But yeah, so discovery is always like, I think that's what drives me about movies in general, is discovery. As much as I love to collect the things that I love and rewatch those, I'm always kind of looking for new stuff. And thankfully we have a lot of boutiques out there that are throwing stuff our way. Like, Radiance, I know like 2% of the movies that they, like nothing, and same thing with Mondo Macabro and some of these others. And that's enough even to be almost overwhelming to me, to the point where I'm hesitant to pull the trigger even sometimes on stuff, even though I am driven by this. But I don't know. There's something about, I think classic film getting physical releases is really a big deal to me, like 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s too. But the older stuff, I just kind of love to see it pop up on physical. But finding a set like that Columbia Noir #6 set for me was just such a highlight this year. I was like, wow, I just love these movies. And so that's definitely one thing I think that drive. What are the things that drive you? I mean, the other thing is there's so many great folks doing special features, doing commentaries, doing video essays, doing featurettes, doing interviews. And it has been neat to, I mean, we obviously hear this thing all the time of physical media is dead. LG's not producing Blu-ray players. The sky is falling, etc. And it's definitely not going away. Like it's definitely becoming more, niche, more niche than it was. I mean, that's something that's been said a lot, but what we're getting is just a lot of people really paying attention to presentation. And the only downside to that is that prices are going up, and that's a little difficult to be a casual collector at these price points. So it's a mix, but unfortunately for me, it's like, do I want it to go away? No, I don't. So I guess ultimately you just have to set aside a little more, save a little more, maybe buy a little less of the stuff that you really want. So, I mean, that does pull some of the discovery out of it, because if you're going to blind buy things, those would be probably last on your list, whereas the things you know and love would be higher. So that's going to push people away from discovery. Unfortunately, I'm just sort of talking myself through this, but yeah, it's been an interesting couple years, and it's been neat to see just how much great stuff has come out and how much is getting talked about, how much isn't getting talked about. There's just too much. It's an incredible smorgasbord, if you will.
Yeah. The other thing that goes into blind buying, at least for me, which I know has always been a thing for you because of who you've given attention to and really aligned your taste with, is kind of just that, like finding somebody that that you can trust their taste. Like you and I both have an affinity for Jonathan Hertzberg's taste.
Absolutely.
Like 97% of the time, what he puts out is going to be something that I go, damn, this is a banger. This is perfect. And that's true for me for Mono Macabro and a couple other labels. Now, blind buying from those, I feel a little more comfortable with, but then you look at somebody that I've been let down a handful of times. I'm like, oh, I spent $45 and I thought this was garbage. That you're less likely to do those blind buys, of course.
Yeah, no, it is tricky. And when you get stung even once or twice, especially at those price points, it really does make it hard to be adventurous, which is something I would love people to be more, but I get it. It's expensive. So
Hilton is wanting to know if we collect audio commentaries. Is there anybody that every single time they do a commentary, you feel like you want to own it?
I don't know about every single time, but I'm sure as hell a Kim Newman guy. I mean, he is one of the greats for sure. You know what? The problem for me is that I'm so busy watching stuff that I don't have as much time to go through some of the commentaries that I'd like to go through. So when I do find something that I really want to check out, sometimes I'll end up just having to rip it to an audio file so I can listen on my commute, so I can like find some time to absorb it. So I don't get enough time to listen, but Kim Newman is definitely high on my list, of folks that I love to collect their stuff. He's amazing. Whoever they pair him with, Stephen Jones or who's the other one I'm blanking on right now. He's often paired with.
He's done a few lately. It seems like he's moving more towards like the visual essay side, unfortunately.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. I just heard one with him. I think, actually it's in one of the discs I'm going to talk about.
Nice.
That was pretty cool. But yeah, no, he's definitely one. What about you? Do you collect specific audio commentaries or?
I mean, there's a few. I'm a big fan of when certain genres are covered by certain people. So if it is a classic Hong Kong film, I want to hear Frank Jiang talk about it probably. He has, he speaks very quickly, so he's hard to understand sometimes, but that is a good thing because the amount of information he gets out, and he focuses on some things that no one else seems to focus on, and that is kind of translating to English and to 2024 what was happening in the film. So there are sometimes where jokes are made that made sense in the language in 1986 but mean nothing in 2024, and he'll literally translate not only the language but say, well, here's the context and why that line was so funny and why it's in the movie. And that sort of thing is pretty incredible.
Oh, I like that. That doesn't happen very much. That's pretty cool.
No. Another big one, Sam Deegan and like Eastern European cinema is somebody that I feel like is a match made in heaven. She's done quite a few of the Deaf Crocodile releases, and her commentaries are legendary on those for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Alexandra Heller Nicholas is another one I'm a big fan of. Her writing and her audio commentaries, she's pretty awesome. So, you know, and she and her tastes and mine tend to align in terms of the stuff that she does.
Yep.
So I always tend to get the stuff she does because it's usually a movie that I want to have anyway. Yeah, she's pretty awesome too. But yeah, there's so many great people doing. I don't want to like make anybody feel bad by not calling
Right.
out names. Because there's so many great folks doing commentaries, and I know how hard that is.
It is, yeah.
Elric and I got offered, this is sort of a behind the scenes, we got offered a commentary, and we had to sort of back out because we realized we might not be able to do it properly. And that made me feel really bad because we didn't want to let the person down, and we really liked the movie, but we just realized there was not enough real estate for us to really talk through the full length of the film. And I don't love to do something like that half-assed. It felt like, especially because this would have been our first like solo commentary. We've only done really one other commentary, right. And we were just kind of not even moderators, just kind of in the background on
just hanging
out with Josh and who was in the commentary? Oh, Larry Karaszewski.
Yeah.
Josh and Larry were talking about Dark of the Sun, and we were there at Josh's house, just on mic commenting. So that was easy because they mostly drove the car, but we would have to do this ourselves. Anyway, my point is I respect the heck out of those like yourself who do audio commentaries because it is so much work and more work than people realize, and it's definitely not. I mean, not to be unkind, but it's definitely not worth the money that is currently paid for it, you know? So it's got to be a labor of love. And so it really has to be a movie that you absolutely adore, or that you really have some passion about. Oh yeah. Imogen Sarah Smith. Absolutely. She's fantastic. Absolutely. Love her. I mean, commentaries are great, but I love her interviews. I love anything she does. And she's great on classic film, noir. Like she's really up there for me. She's wonderful.
Let's see. Any trends that you see being big for physical media in 2025?
Trends. I mean, a lot of 4Ks. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I'm just seeing a ton of 4K releases. I think that's the biggest trend that I can spot. What are some that you've spotted?
Probably 4K, but also I feel like we're, not just some of the giant titles that we've got in the last half of the year, but I feel like we're finally going to start seeing some of those. We never thought this would ever come out on HD, going to get released, and it's going to be more and more and more of those because they were successful. And when you can sell 14,000 copies of The Keep in 37 hours or whatever.
Wow, was it that many? I had no idea.
Well, it was 12,000 limited edition, and then they sold a couple thousand standard edition in that time.
Wow, crazy. It's physical media is not dead, folks. That's a lot of copies. That is a lot of copies.
Funny enough, I have a title like that in my honorable mentions tonight because it's not one that we can say is going to be overlooked, but it's going to get overshadowed. And I think that's an important distinction to make.
True. No, I agree with you. There's definitely, I guess that's one of the hard things for me. A lot of my stuff is just movies that I like that I feel like they're not going to get mentioned not because they're not good discs, but because some people don't know the movies, I guess, right. So that's definitely, and that's like you say, that's just something you and I like to do. Like, what are the movies we love that we love to talk about? So that definitely entered into my thinking with this stuff. But yeah, that is exciting to see so many films we just didn't think were ever going to make it, to not only get a Blu-ray release, but to jump over that and get a 4K release.
Yeah,
that is definitely a trend. Getting a movie that, like you say, we haven't seen before on Blu-ray in the States at least, and having that be also a 4K release. Paper Moon, for example. I didn't put that on my list, but that had a Masters of Cinema release, which I had, but now it's got a nice 4K from Criterion, which is very exciting for me.
Criterion had like 14 titles come out in 2024 that everybody is kind of just quiet about at the end of the year, but they were all like, oh, this is happening finally. And that is amazing for one label. And the sad thing is it's going to get overshadowed because Vinegar Syndrome did all of that in 1 month in November. They put out like 5 titles that never should have been on disc, and suddenly we have them all.
No, it's true. I mean, like Gummo, Happiness, the Albert Brooks movies, Risky Business, I think almost is one of those that I didn't. I mean, that one obviously had been out, so that's
Born on the 4th of July.
Oh shoot, yeah. There's tons of stuff that you're right. Criterion. I didn't put any of their stuff. I'm a little. I gotta say, I'm just a little bit down on them only because, and you've talked about it before, the lack of any kind of extra supplements when they do an upgrade is just too bad. But I also get that it's a business. I'm not, trying to be overly critical. But I mean, thankfully, when you get a title like, real life, for instance, then Pat Garrett, that's a good one too. But at least they have some stuff to draw from with something like that, But mostly when those 4Ks come out, they are getting some new features with them, which is cool when it's not an upgrade.
Speaking of Stephanie Crawford, there she is.
Oh, hello, Steph. Very nice. Awesome to have Steph in the chat. No, she's right. It was an incredible year. We really are pretty spoiled in terms of just how much great stuff came out. In fact, there's way too much to talk about on any one episode. In terms of I did my usual 3 videos for. Yeah. In fact, I think I did more last year, but I felt like there was as many or more. And part of putting this group together of stuff that's overlooked, some of it is stuff I've talked about in other videos, and then other stuff I was like, oh my god, I forgot that. How could I have forgotten this? And so some of those would be like questionable. Did they get mentioned enough? Because that's the other thing, I haven't seen enough. Did you do a top 10 yet? Because you did, I didn't see it yet.
I've been hesitant because everybody for the Shelf Shock Rewind Awards is nominating titles right now, and I don't want to color anything or make it seem like I'm giving out some of the behind the scenes info. So
no, that'll be great when you guys do that. That'll be cool because that always is a good indicator of what was liked by people, and so that'll be cool. But yeah, I feel like some of my go-tos, I haven't seen their videos or I haven't heard their top 10s yet. So I guess I don't have my finger on the pulse as much. Yes, the Iraqi set, also a big one, huge to get that finally. And the Hitcher, my God. Yeah. That's one that I wasn't going to bring up because I feel like we've been waiting so long, and in our circles, everybody knows and was excited, but totally lived up to everything I hoped it would be. Just that, the interview with C. Tommy Howell alone is pretty fantastic. He's an interesting dude, and he's got a lot of stories that are pretty great. Just that. And then of course how great it looks. But yeah, just like that's another example of a movie that like, is it going to happen? We weren't sure. And wow, it did. And it's amazing. So yeah, incredible. Really 2024 is pretty great. I got to say, I'd probably give it the edge over last year. And that's exciting because, it still feels like there's stuff in the tank in terms of this, and I hope that it continues. I really do. And I believe that the physical media community is strong. Just going on a place like Blue Sky and seeing how physical media posts blow up, just another article came out today about physical media that people are posting about. And that to me really speaks to how folks feel about it and how they don't like the idea. Oh yeah. Looking for Mr. Goodbar, obviously, that's incredible. Never thought that would happen. But yeah, just the way things are going seems positive to me. And I want to kind of stay in that mindset, really. Just celebrate. We should just be celebrating. And at the end of a great year like this, everybody be happy with what we got because it was a really killer year. Just so many titles, like you say, that I just never thought we'd get. Never, Well,
and on the stay happy point, the only other trend I want to bring up is the fact that Terry's here saying, well, it's not my bag. Never-ending story is a mind-blowing one, too.
Hi,
the
Terry.
fact that we see, 1,000 people worldwide willing to spend $185 on a single release. Yes, it's like one of our biggest childhood movies for many, 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 many people. I get that. But how many other films are going to suddenly start charging $100 for one movie and say, well, you paid $185 for Never-Ending Story. This one's a pretty big movie too.
Yeah, I don't necessarily love that. But yeah, I'm wondering if that's going to, again, be part of the price of collecting moving forward, is the boutiques deciding to really make it a big deal
Right.
500. Oh my God. Really make it a big deal when they put out something like that so that you can sort of justify the cost a little bit more.
Right.
I guess in your head. I mean, I've seen people go through that set. It definitely feels like 185 isn't terrible for all that you get with that set. And like I said, I'm still not necessarily willing to do that, but it's not that like they're ripping us off,
Right.
So
it's all good points. I think this is probably a good point to transition over to announcements.
All right.
First up, this isn't really a physical media announcement, but for anybody that didn't see, I dropped a video last Friday with Damian K. Leahy, and for all those that haven't listened or watched, there's a giveaway attached to that, so make sure you go give that a watch before too long and get in on the giveaway.
Cool.
But first up this week, we got some Arrow announcements. March 3rd, 4K release in the UK. They're doing Dress to Kill from 1980. And this is going to have a new commentary by Drusilla Adeline and Joshua Conkle that you may know from an incredible podcast that I've been talking about for a lot and actually advertised in the magazine earlier this year. And I really hope people pay attention to this one and check it out because it is, it's unfortunate that many of us collectors that are buying dual places, over the UK, over the US, Australia, and we'll get 3 different releases and you may already have one, but then another one comes out and you're like, well, I kind of want that part too. It's hard to pick up both of them. But if you've never heard the name Adeline or Adeline, I'm not sure how she pronounces that. This is Sister Hyde, an artist that is involved in a lot of releases. She did the bound cover for Criterion this year. There is all kinds of stuff that you can find their work on, but they also are from the Bloodhouse podcast, and they're incredible on there. So I may get this one, unfortunately. There's a new visual essay by BJ and Harmony Colangelo on this as well. A new visual essay by Jessica Kretz. A whole bunch of archival extras on this, and they were saying on Twitter, I think it was, that they supposedly have improved on the Kino picture quality. It's the same scan, but they've done some things to make it a little bit better. I need to do some more research on that, but that's how they get you, because this is like one of the best movies of all time.
No, it's great. It's one of De Palma's best movies. And when I saw it come up, I did kind of go, damn it. Yep. Because, obviously the extras are a big deal, but also Arrow tends to do it better than most everybody. And so it's always a bummer when they come out second or third, because then I'm like, shoot, gotta do it. So I'm very, very tempted by this one. Very, very tempted. I might have to do it too. Damn it.
Next up is The Terminal Man, coming on Blu-ray in the UK on March 10th. This is going to have a new audio commentary by Howard S. Berger and Stephen Mitchell. New visual essay by Josh Nelson. New visual essay by Howard S. Berger as well. And then some archival extras on this, and a collector's book with new writing by Guy Adams. Lots of stuff coming for this movie.
Yeah, I'm a fan. It's an interesting one. I don't think it fully works for me, but I love George Segal in this period. Yeah. And it's a really intriguing movie, the idea of a man as a time bomb. It has a great suspenseful quality to it, because if you don't know, basically he's got this implant in his head that's supposed to help him. Can we get rid of lobby cards and have thicker books? I'm on the fence there. Like, part of me totally agrees with that. Also, part of me kind of likes lobby cards, although I have to admit that I don't do anything with them, and they just end up taking up space in the case. So I'm a little torn. But I guess I might agree with that. But yeah, so he's got this thing in his head, and he has this cycle that he'll basically freak out and kill anything he's in the room with at certain intervals. And so you're kind of watching him. He's wandering. I think it's San Francisco, maybe. He's wandering around the city. And so when you realize the time is coming when he might have an attack, you just immediately oh my God, this person he's in the room with has no idea. And he can't even control it. So he will go from just having a nice conversation to suddenly just freaking out. Exploding, so it's a really interesting dynamic of tension about it. But I have the Warner Archive Blu-ray, which of course doesn't have anything on it. So this is a little tempting. I got to say, a little tempting too. I'm torn.
Totally get that one. Let's go to the next one, which is a masterpiece. They are doing Don't Torture a Duckling from Lucio Fulci on 4K. This is coming on March 24th in the UK, March 25th in North America. Now, the hard part, unlike what we just talked about with Dress to Kill, as far as I can tell, this has nothing new on it except for the 4K scan, which this is my favorite Fulci film, and I guarantee it will look incredible on 4K. But nothing new. That's kind of difficult. And then the hard part, they're doing the UK and the US, so we can't even say somebody else will do a better release.
Oh, shoot, yeah. Yeah, this one's tough. I'm a fan of it. Definitely. I totally get it being your favorite. I tend to lean towards sleazier Fulci personally, but like it is quote unquote one of his best movies, you know, like, and I don't mean quote unquote like not objectively, like it really is one of his best films and one of Elric's favorite. Yeah, Sam's right. It is one of his best, and I get why it's people's favorite. So like, I'm still tempted, but I gotta admit, I haven't watched my Blu-ray of Don't Torture Duckling since I bought it, which is stupid because I think I watched the Anchor Bay DVD a few years before that Blu-ray came out, and I haven't felt the urge. So that's another thing that comes into my head when something like this happens, but it's pretty tempting.
Yeah, this is a damn good movie. If you've never picked up Don't Torture a Duckling, obviously this is the way to go.
Oh,
That's
yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're a Italian horror fan, like, please just do yourself a favor. You won't regret it. It's very solid stuff. One of the best Italian horror films, full stop, you know?
Easy sentence to make there for sure. Next one is Play It Cool. This is from 1970, coming on March 3rd in the UK, March 4th in North America. And this is the director on this is Yasuzo Masumura. They've done a few Masumura films before, but never this one. I think this is one that they had trouble with elements for a while or something. This is going to have a new commentary with the one and only Jasper Sharp, who's great on all of these. Another great commentator for not even just Japanese, but like a lot of Asian cinema. He will be joined by Anne McKnight. We got a new visual essay on this and the career of the writer-director by Mark Roberts. And then we've got a collector's book with new writing by Earl Jackson. I am unfamiliar with Earl Jackson's work, but I mean, this looks like a pretty easy pickup to me pretty soon.
Yeah, this is one I don't know anything about, so I'm very curious. It does intrigue me. But yeah, this would be a blind buy. But yeah, it definitely looks really interesting to me for sure. And Arrow, I trust. I mean, if I had to really lay it down, I don't know. It'd still be hard to say for sure, but Arrow is definitely top 2 or 3 labels for me, like all time in terms of the amount of stuff that I must have from them and the amount of misses they have, which is almost none. Like I really can't think of too many things that I was excited about from Arrow that didn't deliver, you know? And they had a great year this year too. I mean, movies that I won't mention, but like Narc and Simple Plan on 4K, amazing, you know, and great releases, you know, and those are just a couple of the things they did this year. I just got Demolition Man in the mail. I'm not even that big of a fan of Demolition Man, but if it's an Arrow release and it's a 4K, you have it somewhere there, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I was trying to find it. There it is.
Nice. Yeah, I almost watched that yesterday. But yeah, I mean, it's just like when they do something, and then the Shawscope sets, like I'm just so far behind watching those that I didn't pick up the new one, but obviously I saw Dave at Snips Movies did his list and he put that on there, rightfully so. Dave Wayne put it on there, and yeah, I mean those are great sets. So I mean, anyway, not to get too off topic on Arrow, but the reason I trust them is because they do such a good job with their stuff. So that's a reason that I would consider this one, even not knowing anything about it.
Yeah, and you know, after talking to James Flower on the show, there's a lot of people that are, you know, very much draw a line in the sand and say after the Hut Group purchased them, everything went downhill, and I don't truly agree with that. I mean, it's clear that they definitely went for some more commercial titles, which you can say is a good thing or a bad thing, and I would totally understand either argument there.
When did that sale happen?
Oh gosh, that was probably
a while ago now.
2022 or 2021 even. Interesting.
I see the demarcation there a little bit, but they haven't really, I don't want to say they haven't disappointed me. I mean, there are definitely months where months where their slate comes out and I'm a little less excited, but there's almost always at least one title that I'm like, well, there's the one I got to get. And I can't really say that for that many labels, they don't always, I mean, Kino does it differently. So they're just constantly bombing us with stuff, which is great. And there's one of my all timers in the list for today that I was super excited to see get a 4K upgrade.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of like the ones that do monthly announcements, Arrow almost always has something that I want to check out. I want to get, So,
and then, like you said, Kino announces 23, and damn it, you'll like at least one of them.
Exactly. I mean, their average is actually a little higher than I would have, considering how much they announce. It's higher than that for me. But
yeah, I mean, literally last year, I think they were 3 or 4 short of 250 titles for the year.
Gosh,
like I think it was 247.
Wow.
And with that happening, even if you like. I don't know, even if you like 30 of those movies, that's a pretty significant number compared to most other labels.
I mean, based on that, and when I think about it, I definitely own more Kino than almost anything because of just how much stuff they put out and how much of it is actually pretty cool stuff, especially the stuff they're upgrading. Put that one up again. What was that comment? I'm sorry, I missed the.
Erica from Unsung Horror says, today I learned that Brian's ancestors were hurt by Vikings and he doesn't use the 3 seashells.
These things are both true. Very nice.
Well,
hello,
speaking
Erica.
of titles from Arrow that everybody wanted on 4K, let's talk about Deep Blue Sea from 1999, getting a 4K on March 17th in the UK, March 18th in North America.
I mean, I haven't pre-ordered it yet, but I probably will. I gotta say,
it's a fun movie.
Yeah. This is one that was interesting because I remember when I first started working at the video store, Laser Blazer. Yes, that seems like a wasted opportunity. Deep Blue Sea was one of the first DVDs that I remember coming out. So I think it was even one maybe they gave away with players. I can't remember.
That makes sense, yeah.
I can't remember. It was pretty early, but it was definitely one that we watched on the TVs all the time. And the Sam Jackson demise is certainly unforgettable. I'm wondering how this is going to look in 4K with some of those digital. I mean, it wasn't something I thought about until this moment, but I do love shark movies. I have a weird affinity for shark movies. So, this seems like something I'm going to probably end up getting,
This is one I kind of want to wait for a review from somebody that is a stickler for the technical side of things.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely want to see what people think because the CG in this looked really bad in DVD and Blu-ray. The funny thing is it won't be worse in 4K, obviously, but everything else around it being gorgeous will make it look worse.
It's true.
And so it's definitely something I'm worried about. We watched this as part of my Patreon. We do a watch along every month, and we watched this one, I don't know, a good 8 or 9 months ago, and it was fun in a group, but I just don't know if I need it with 4K.
No, it's a fair point. It is definitely more of a group watch kind of movie than watch by yourself kind of movie. In fact, yeah, I would, if I was going to watch it, I would definitely want to watch it with my daughter or with somebody.
Right.
It's definitely that kind of movie. I just watched Driven, by the way, for the first time.
Oh, nice.
It's which is interesting. I guess I don't mind Rennie Harlan. I actually had a small Rennie Harlan run because I rewatched Die Hard 2, which did not hold up as well this time for me as before. But yeah, Driven was interesting. Definitely not great, but interesting.
Deep Blue Sea gets a new commentary by the screenwriter Duncan Kennedy. Another new commentator by somebody Rebecca McKendry.
Very nice.
We got some archival interviews and commentaries on here, and then some new interviews. One with the production designer William Sandel, a new visual essay by Trace Thurman, some archival featurettes, optional commentary on some directed deleted scenes with Rennie Harlan, and then a 60-page book with new writing by Josh Hurtado, Jenny Kermode, and Murray Leader, plus some previously unseen production art and designs. That's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's a great package.
A lot of stuff coming from this one, and I hope it makes people happy because I know it's a lot of people. It's like one of their. I hate using the term guilty pleasure, but guilty pleasure
whatever.
Movies.
So bad it's good. Those terms I'm not a fan of either. But it has a very loyal fan base, you could say.
Absolutely. Next up is one from overseas. In the UK, the BBC is doing Doctor Who: The Collection Season 7 from 1970, and they're just slowly churning these out. They're not really going in order, but there is a bunch in this package. Check it out. There's also some other new Doctor Who things available on Zavvi. I'm trying to do some research because there's not a lot of info out there yet, but I will be posting those as soon as I get some more. I know, just in case you're wondering, they are doing the Savages, which is, gosh, I think it's from 1966, and they're doing a steelbook for it that you can pre-order now, but more info on that to come.
Check out the big brains on sharks. Very nice. Just looking at the comments.
Next up is a replacement program. Last week I talked about that people were reporting a visual discrepancy on Looking for Mr. Goodbar. Looks like they will be putting a replacement out. If you purchased it from Vinegar Syndrome, they will be giving you a replacement disc on their own. You don't need to sign any forms or anything. However, if you bought it third party, you're going to want the replacement disc. You got to email them and show them your proof of purchase, and you will get that replacement disc.
So does it freeze up? Like, what's the hang up?
There's some visual glitches that happen for just a minute, and it's not very long, but it's super noticeable.
You have it happen for you?
Oh, it's literally for everyone. It is
okay.
It is in the digital file on the disc. And the
I
sad thing is,
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I thought it was saying certain players, certain people, but it sounds like it's not that.
Yeah, it is. It is not that. The only big thing, I believe, let's see, if you have Dolby Vision enabled is when it shows up. But if you don't have Dolby Vision, it doesn't happen. For a good 4K disc, most people are wanting Dolby Vision enabled, so that makes sense that they would replace it.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they're doing that they've stopped a long time ago with the, like, you got to write us and let us know, and they're doing the automatic. That's just so much more the right thing to do, which is great.
So, got to bring up though, there's a lot of people upset with the, and I'm gonna put some people on blast here, but not by name. The people saying they need quality control, like none of these labels are testing for quality control. What's your take on how we're getting seemingly more and more disc replacement and errors happening right now?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess I want to hear your take first, because like I feel like it's relatively consistent in terms of how much we get. I feel like we had a really bad run of several years ago where there was, like, I can't remember if it was Arrow, but there was a bunch of replacements from a bunch of different labels. It feels like it is just part of the process now, kind of. So I'll say it doesn't bother me that much, especially when they get right on it.
Right.
But yeah, how do you feel about it? Where you stand on this? You think there's not enough quality control? I mean, clearly they have quality control. I'm just curious how some of these things get by. I don't know.
I mean, there's a couple things here. So first off, this definitely varies by company. Some of the companies that I work with, we are, we'll have 3 different people do QC on everything on the desk 2 or 3 times. And then the authoring company also does QC on it. And that's a lot.
Yeah.
That is a lot of eyes on a lot of disc, and it takes a hell of a lot of time. The other thing is, I do this announcement show every single Thursday, and this is the lightest week of the entire year, and there's still like 31 announcements that we're going over.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know it was even that many. Wow.
And on an average week, I'm hitting about 70 to 75.
Wow.
And
that is crazy. Those numbers are staggering. Even though I live it from week to week, and just hearing those numbers is really kind of shocking.
The first week of every month, I'm hitting somewhere between 90 to 115 every single first week of the month.
Well, I mean, the other thing is you're also covering global, because you cover everybody, and that's, if you go to Blu-ray.com, obviously if you put the region on, you can catch everything, but even they don't catch everything. So you're really hitting everything that's coming out, and there's a lot that doesn't get. One of the things I love about you is that you're covering labels that I've never even heard of, that consistently put out interesting stuff. So I love that about this show. Anyway, that's a lot of titles. So I think there's something to that, just a glut of titles, and how based on the number of titles, the average is still relatively low in terms of these problems, I think, right?
Yes, I would agree with that. It's also, there's a couple things, like it's not really a big deal to get a replacement disc. The problem is when there's an issue and the label doesn't admit it and they try to hide it.
Yes, that I have seen a few times, and that is discouraging. I get that it's a tough thing for their bottom line to be like, oh man, we got to redo this whole thing and we got to mail all these.
It's expensive, yeah.
But I mean, you're charging a premium price. You want to make the customer happy. You can't put out something shoddy. And, that's tough when they don't admit it. That does bother me. That does bother me. And yes, there are people out there that are nitpicking, and maybe their specific player has some kind of an issue that can't be dealt with on a grand scale. And I get that that's difficult, but when it's clear that there's a lot of people having issues and they're still denying it, that's a bummer. It's definitely a bummer.
The other big thing is we are such a niche community now that there are multiple steps in creating all of these discs, that there are legitimately only like 5 high quality places in the world.
Oh yeah.
Literally that perform that action, whether that is manufacturing, whether that is authoring, whether that is encoding, whatever. Like there's a few things where there's literally 5 or less places in the world that complete that action. And with that happening, and even averaging 70 titles a week, that's almost 300 a month. And if you're relying on 5 companies to do 300 every month, holy shit, that's overwhelming.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot for anybody to. I honestly can't believe those 5 places can handle the workload of all that's coming out. Like, that's pretty incredible.
Do you know the number one thing that surprises engaged couples? Take a guess. The sheer amount of decisions they have to make while planning a wedding. Indoors or outdoors? How many guests? Are kids invited? Controversial. Which cake flavor? Seriously, how do you even begin to figure out what's right for you? That's where Zola comes in. Zola has everything you need to make every wedding decision a piece of cake, from choosing your dream wedding venue and vendors to deciding how to best spend your budget. With tons of customizable wedding websites, save the dates, and invites, every detail will feel like you. Zola will even help you choose the gifts, experiences, and cash funds you really want. The next thing you know, you've planned your whole wedding all in one place. From getting engaged to getting married, Zola has everything you need to plan your wedding in one place. Start planning at Zola.com. That's Zola.com.
So I this is one of those things that I don't want to sound a bit like looking down on other collectors, but I do want to say maybe ask some questions and be a little slower to grabbing pitchforks when a replacement disc happens. And sometimes it is warranted, especially when there's a problem and the company does not admit it. But honestly, the replacement program should be a good thing. You should see that they're willing to admit it and fix it. It's the silent ones that's the bigger problem.
Yeah. And have you noticed certain labels that are more hesitant to admit their mistakes?
Yes, I have. Are we ready for the next announcement?
Yeah, let's go ahead. We don't want to call anybody out that you might be working with, so that's okay. Let's keep going.
I mean, I'll fully admit, like, Kino Lorber has had 2 or 3 major public fuck ups like that. They have. The biggest one was, they'll even say it now, I think, so we can all talk about it. Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia. They put that out, and they advertised it as the newer Aero Blu-ray scan that had come out, and so people expected that in the States. Hey, I'm finally going to be able to get this brand new HD scan that everybody said looked great. And then when it came out, it was still the old scan. And they went, no, it's not. Nope, it's perfect. Don't question us. And then finally they said, yeah, okay, it was the wrong file. Here you go. But that sort of thing, like, it's not okay to just straight lie like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not going to help you later. It's just, I know it's hard sometimes to admit that stuff. And you have certain folks that don't want to put themselves on the spot like that. And I get it, but it's tough. You just kind of have to suck it up at some point. I'm not Kino specifically, but just when these mistakes happen, it's tough. I get it.
But Kino specifically, yes. Got a question in the chat. What is currently the best option for Alfredo Garcia? I believe it's still the Kino disc, which is newer than the Aero disc. It might have less special features, but for those of you that are region locked.
Doesn't that seem like there's got to be a 4K bubbling somewhere?
Yeah, probably.
Maybe? I mean, it just feels like it's still an MGM title, and I know they're not always the easiest to work with from what I've heard, but
yeah,
it still feels like fairly accessible material.
Yep.
So I'm kind of hoping for that because I'm a big Alfredo fan.
4 months from now, that Blu-ray disc is already 4 years old.
Wow. That's actually what's fun. I guess if there's another trend, it's the upgrading too soon after the Blu-ray release. And 4 years is actually surprisingly, the imprint's good too. That's good to know, Terry. Thank you. That's 4 years is actually kind of a long time, and that shouldn't be the case. Like that should be sort of the norm, but 4 years is actually quite a long time from a Blu-ray. So it's about due for an upgrade. It feels like.
I got to be honest, I forgot Imprint did that. They did it in September of 23, and I think they do have some exclusive special features, and it's region free, so go for that one.
Yeah, it's a double disc set too, right? I mean, multiple. Yeah, that's a good. I have that. That's a good set.
It's a good release. Then Kino announced
very exciting.
On Blu-ray, Rustler's Rhapsody from 1985, coming on Blu-ray from a 4K scan of the OCN. This is a Tom Berenger joint, written and directed by Hugh Wilson. I've never seen this one, but it sounds like you may have.
Love it. I'm a big fan. I talked about this. We've done a few Western episodes, but we did like a pre and post Wild Bunch. We used that as our demarcation point. And this is in my post Wild Bunch. It is a really fun spoof, but it's not quite like Airplane style spoof. It's a little bit more narratively driven than those films, but it is also really funny. So I love this. I think Tom Berenger's great in it. He becomes this sort of self-aware, Hopalong Cassidy kind of singing cowboy character. And it's bizarre. Like he eats this root and it makes him, it's like Popeye shit and it's bizarre, but I'm a big fan. And I know it's probably not going to happen, but boy, I would love to hear Hugh Wilson talk about this movie. I just am so curious because this is, and I think I figured it out at one point. This is probably his, cash in the chips movie after Police Academy. And so, why do you make that choice? And I love that he made that choice. Obviously he had an affection for old Westerns, not even just like Sergio Leone, but more like the serialized singing cowboy Western kind of stuff. And that's such a specific choice. I'm always fascinated by those choices that directors make after a gigantic success, like Soderbergh making Kafka, and stuff like that, where you're just like, I'm pushing all my chips in on this. And I'm like, wow, that is cool. Because those movies don't get made unless you have a big success. So I'm always kind of fascinated by those that come out after a big success like this. So it's a lot of fun. I think you'll dig it. I'm pretty sure you're going to have a good time. And I'm just excited that more people will see it now that it's coming to Blu-ray. So big thumbs up for me.
All I heard out of that is you thought the plot line in Airplane was trash. Can you explain?
No.
I'm kidding.
Just more narrative. Just a little more narrative. That's all.
Let's see. Yeah, the cast alone is pretty great on this one, it looks like.
Yeah, very good cast too.
Next Imaginaut. Apropos of nothing, has anyone heard whether any other retailers will be receiving copies of Arrow's The Keep? I think you mean Vinegar Syndrome's The Keep in the coming weeks. Yes, Diabolic DVD is getting some in. They should be going up soon, but they're probably going to sell out in like 26 seconds. So
yeah. Definitely keep an eye on their socials real close.
Yeah, they will be announcing something on it soon. Jesse was posting about that today. Prophecy from 1979, getting a 4K from Kino here soon. This is a big one, directed by John Frankenheimer. I know that there's a lot of people that think this movie is awful, but there's a couple things I'm excited about. One is, as you can see in the comment on this post here, everybody on like all the Vinegar Syndrome social media is always guessing that a Prophecy 4K fits all of the clues they're giving. And now we can stop speculating. Kino has it. Vinegar Syndrome will not be putting it out. Now, the other thing, this movie is actually really great. This has like one of the most fun kills of all time in it. But what do you think of Prophecy?
I'm a fan. Definitely a fan. And who's the director? Is it Tom Eberhardt? No, I'm blanking. Gosh, there's a great story that was on Elric's old podcast, Killer POV, where I want to say it was like Tom Eberhardt or somebody that went on to direct movies was the guy in the bear suit. And he is like he has a great story about giving Frankenheimer like directing advice while in the suit on the set. And Frankenheimer surprisingly not losing his shit on him publicly, like taking him aside and losing his shit on him. But Frankenheimer's a notorious yeller, like a guy who did not suffer fools at all. And you listen to him talk for 5 minutes, you're like, oh, this guy doesn't fuck around. He's not going to listen to some idiot in a bear suit telling him what to. Anyway, so those stories are great. But just that Frankenheimer made this eco horror, fucking bizarre movie is fascinating to me. I'm a fan of basically everything he ever did, and this one, Steph, very nice. Oh, the Eureka release. Oh shit, I missed that completely. I only had the Scream.
They did that shortly after they did Cujo, I think.
Oh damn. Well, I'm guessing Kino's probably not going to get all their extras, so now I got to go look at what that has on it. Thank you, Steph. Legitimately fantastic. Yeah, no, and it has got some cool, scary moments in it. Like, I'm just as I've talked about on my shows, animal attack films are just a sweet spot for me. So whenever a new one gets a Blu-ray that it hasn't been out before, or in this case, a 4K, I'm super excited, and I'll be talking about it and watching it as soon as it comes out. This is very cool. I mean, some will say it's a little cheesy in spots and such, but ultimately, I don't know. This and Orca both have a sort of similar, like, mother defending baby kind of thing that's kind of going on that I kind of like in these eco horror sort of movies. But yeah, it's super fun. Animals Attack Vikings. I would actually watch that, Aaron. I would definitely watch Animals Attacking Vikings, but it'd have to be definitely a heavy animal attack on the Vikings.
Well, and I'd like to know going into it who wins, the Vikings or the animals.
I got to say the animals would have to win for me to be really on board with it.
Exactly. I got to be invested. This is pretty exciting. March 25th, Paramount putting out Tommy Boy on 4K for its 30th anniversary. Wow. And that is a huge deal. And if you don't like the Steelbook, on the same day, you can pick it up on standard 4K as well. We don't know if there's any new features yet. I don't think that was revealed on Amazon, which means probably nothing new. Yeah. But, I mean, it's Tommy Boy. I know there's a lot of people that would want to talk about it, but it's a studio release. They're not known for reaching out to scholars or anything. So,
I mean, does David Spade want to talk about it in 2024? Probably not.
Probably not.
Which is too bad. Because I'd kind of love to hear him talk about it. Yeah, like it's a classic. It's super adorable and fun, and yeah, I've been a fan for a long time. I've been a big fan.
Got to get it for Farley.
Yeah, absolutely. One of his best, and plenty of quotable lines throughout, for sure.
All right. Our next one, we are seeing on February 4th, Film Masters doing Monster from the Ocean Floor from 1954. Nice. Another Roger Corman joint that they're doing. They've done quite a few of these, and I'm glad we're getting them. They got a brand new 4K restoration from the OCN on this. New commentary by Tom Weaver and the Weaver Players.
Wow, the Weaver Players.
I want to know who else is with them on that.
That is great.
New interview with Justin Humphreys on the career of Bob Baker, and then archival interview with the producer Roger Corman about his early career, which will be a great archival interview. I'm sure we've had it elsewhere. But there'll be an illustrated booklet with an essay by Tom Weaver as well. Film Masters. They do a lot of really fun work. Have you checked out many of their discs?
Not enough, to be honest. This is the year when I started to check them out. In fact, spoiler, I have one of their discs in my not talked about enough stack.
I almost grabbed one too.
You know what it is because you saw my picture, but yeah, the Creature with the Blue Hand is one that I'm really been circling for a long time and want to check out. But they really seem to do right by the restorations and the extras, and kind of, I don't know, like feel like they're flying a little under the radar. Do you feel that too? Like, I'm considering everything that's coming into these. Yep. Yeah, see, Terry knows what's up. Like, it's these guys are good. They're really doing a nice job. And I want more people to check out their stuff because I'm just now getting into it, and I feel bad I haven't been able to highlight them as much as I would have liked to. So this seems like something I totally want to check out.
The Absolutely. Biggest thing, and I don't want to, I hate telling people buy this to support it, but this is one of those things that I feel like I kind of want to say that for, because frequently on not all, but many of their releases, they'll do a 4K restoration with bonus features on like a feature, and then throw on a B-side that doesn't have a 4K restoration, which will also get new bonus features. But what's crazy is on release day, you can get it for under $20.
That's pretty awesome. And the fact that they're taking sometimes those notorious public domain titles, and cleaning those up, and that I know is a tough scenario because Oh, freebies through their YouTube channel. Didn't know about that. That's cool. I gotta check out their YouTube channel.
They do visual essays, and then I think they release full film restorations on there that they own rights to.
There's something people need to do. Subscribe to that channel and get a sense of what they're doing before you buy if you want. But everything I've got a couple of their discs, and I've been very impressed with the work they're doing so far. They're like an up and comer for me in terms of stuff that I want to start checking out. And each of these new titles, I want to say like every other title they announce is one I want to get. And not to say that I don't want to get the ones I'm talking about, the others, but there's just lots of interest. Like Salt of the Earth is so different from Monster from the Ocean. Couldn't be more different. And they're doing that. And then they're doing one like the title I'm going to talk about later that's different than this. So it's not just old classic monster movies, which I totally get why they're putting their sights on these, because this is stuff people will buy. Right. But they're doing more than that. So just keep an eye on them, I would say. They're great work. I mean, really not substandard by any stretch of the imagination, like really, really solid stuff. So check out Film Masters is all I can say from my point of view.
I agree fully. Next one, we got some details. March 11th, Kino is releasing Best Defense from 1984. This is one they announced last year. We finally got a date and some features on. This is going to have a new audio commentary by Alan Spencer and Justin Humphreys. And I think it's hilarious that they went with the alternate poster for this. This is slightly different than the original theatrical poster art, because I guess when this came out, people complained because Eddie Murphy was featured heavily on the original poster, and they realized that this isn't an Eddie Murphy movie, really. He's not the feature, so people thought it was a bit of a bait and switch. But I've never seen this one. Have you seen Best Defense?
I have, and I don't remember being too fond of it. I remember it being kind of a misfire, because I was a huge, I mean, still am to a certain degree, Eddie Murphy fan, and so I was seeing anything and everything that he had to put out, and I felt like there was just some where they just, I mean, yeah, he's not that in it that much, and I think. So you go in, I think there's ultimate, and I love Dudley Moore too, actually, it's just adorable. It is kind of, but like, it is a little bit unfairly abused. Oh, fair enough, Stan. Fair enough. All right. I need to rewatch it. I'm not going to, with strategic guest star Eddie Murphy. Yeah. I think this all makes sense. Like, I just remember being deeply
That's such a great descriptor, Terry. Deeply ordinary.
I love it. That's should have been on the cover. Should have been on the cover.
What size shirt do you wear, Brian? Extra medium?
Extra boring. Yeah, no, I gotta rewatch it. If Stan says it's abused, I need to rewatch it. I do like Dudley Moore enough that I want to kind of give it another look. It's really been a long time. Like, I literally haven't seen it since VHS, so there's no way that my old ass brain has any real memory of what it. I just remember probably being disappointed there wasn't more Eddie Murphy. If I'm honest, like, that probably was it. But like, couldn't tell you a single stitch of the plot. So like, I really don't. It's gonna be a new to me movie basically when I watch it.
That, to be fair, that's what I feel like many of these. Like, I could have sworn I've seen some of these movies 22 years ago. I can't tell you even a single scene out of some of them.
No chance for me. No chance.
Well, have you seen The Triumph of Sherlock Holmes or Silver Blaze, also coming from Film Masters as part of their archive collection? This is coming on February 4th. And with the archive collection, this is essentially what it's called, the archive collection, to save these. Otherwise, there's no reason to put them out. They're not doing any special features. They will have closed captioning, but that is it.
So this line it's more of the classic film titles. Is that also what I'm getting? Not just, I mean, saving them but older than the monster movies typically? Sometimes,
but even on their regular line, they will do some of the older ones too if they think. I more deserving feels like a weird qualifier there, but something that they feel like they can do more with. And the big thing is these probably will not have 4K scans. These will probably just be whatever they could possibly get to archive it on physical media.
I mean, I respect that. I don't know either of these movies, but again, I'm so getting excited about Film Masters and what they're doing that I'm kind of open, like, I don't know if it's a day one purchase, but I'm definitely curious because I like what they're doing.
Yeah, my big thing is Film Masters
Okay,
is the
all
same
right.
company that used to be Film Detective, and they
That's
put
what I was
out
going to ask. Yeah, I thought that was the case.
some of these Sherlock Holmes films before, and I don't remember if these were involved in that release or not. But the Sherlock films they did before, they didn't look great. It was not like a high quality release. So I'm kind of betting these are probably that same thing, just to get them back in print anywhere.
Interesting. That's an interesting speculation, and you're probably right.
I don't know.
I trust your instinct, sir.
Next, Universal putting out Werewolves from 2024 on Blu-ray only on February 4th. This will have a deleted scene, some trailers, and subtitles. But if you're thinking it's a brand new film, Universal will probably release it on 4K later. I can almost guarantee that, because on January 23rd, you can buy it on 4K from Germany, from Cape Light Pictures. This doesn't have any more bonus features, but you can get it on 4K from overseas before you get it on Blu-ray in the country that it's from.
2 questions. One, Cape Light. I don't know. Have you gotten any of their stuff? How is it?
Cape Light is quite good. They have worked with MPI Media Group in the U.S. to release some of their stuff. They're this oddly global brand. They've been doing some of it, and the title that you probably know them most for is Bloodsport. They're the ones that did that Bloodsport 4K.
Which I've considered a few times. Do you have it?
I've got a couple versions. If you want one of them, I can probably send you one.
That's amazing. Multiple versions of Bloodsport.
Yeah, it looks great on 4K. They do pretty well with packaging. They do a lot of media books. They're the same ones that did, I think it's Hansel and Gretel, the old. Oh gosh, what year is that? I don't remember, but
like a 2007.
No, not
old,
like
old.
60s
Okay.
or 70s. Something
Don't
like
even
that.
know what that is. Don't even know.
Yeah, it's they've done quite a few of those media book type releases to give special attention to some of these titles. They're the ones that did. Oh gosh, there was another big title that they just did in the UK. But yeah, they regularly do stuff in the UK, in Germany. They'll do stuff here. It's really interesting what they're getting their hands on.
That's cool. Like, I appreciate your insights, because I don't know some of the German labels. I mean, it's not like I've had bad experiences, but you just never know sometimes. And so it's cool. I don't know. I mean, I just only heard of this movie like in the last couple weeks, so I don't know anything about it. I do like werewolf movies, but I don't know. I can't speak to its quality at all.
This is a weird one, and I don't know why this happens, but I swear once or twice a month, one of my posts on Facebook that's just a regular announcement post will go like what I call viral. For me, it's viral. And there was, about a day. Let's see, I posted this 3 days ago. And so I think it was Christmas Eve. About every 3.5 minutes, I was getting a new comment on this post the entire day.
Wow.
It now has like 1,400 comments on it. And most of them are either this movie is such a great entry into the werewolves movie canon, or this is the worst movie I've ever seen.
Okay, that's great. Can glean nothing from those 2 polls, really. So I don't know what to take away from
One thing that is surprising, this supposedly leans very heavily on practical effects, which is pretty rare.
Like that. Definitely like that. Okay. No, I mean, I'll watch it. I'll definitely watch it at some point. I'm not going to shell out for physical release until I have some idea what I'm getting into. But that's very intriguing that Universal's got this deal with overseas distributors or whatever is happening, where you get a 4K before you can get their Blu-ray domestic.
Well, and now we'll probably get a 4K from Scream Factory in like August of next year or something.
Yeah, that could happen.
All right, that is Werewolves. Next up is Sonic 3, the big theater hit again. You can get this on 4K, Steelbook Standard, Blu-ray, and DVD coming soon. You can already pre-order the Steelbook, and this is one of those movies that is a shockingly huge hit, and I could see the Steelbook selling out long before this ever gets released.
I mean, this is a tough one for me. Not tough at all, actually. I'm pretty good friends with one of the writers of this. So it's one of those things where, I'm not fully unbiased. I saw it in a theater invite from Josh to go and hang with a bunch of people that he knows. Nice. And I had a drink with him afterwards. And so I'm so happy for him. I'm just so happy that Josh Miller, my friend, he had the #1 movies in the country. And such a good guy. Like, I'm just a big Josh is just a great dude. Like, I'm just a really
Yeah.
big fan of him. He showed me something that I know you would be fascinated by. I can't remember which disc it was, but he was showing me this picture he had on his phone. Either somebody had sent him or something, where it was like an old special feature from one of the Sonic discs. And they had him and his co-writer, Pat Casey, sitting there, and they misnamed them. He's like, this is how much Hollywood respects writers. He's like, I know this isn't Hollywood, but this is so perfect because their names were switched. And I'm like, oh, it's not a joke. He's like, no, that wasn't a joke. They didn't bother to check who was who, and they just put the wrong name on. And I just thought that was so funny that I got to go find that special feature. But he's like, yeah, this is the kind of respect we get in Hollywood. My avatar is actually a Sonic doodle a good friend drew, and that's really interesting. Wow, I wouldn't have called
the old
that
ugly
out.
Sonic face, I think.
Yeah, but so anyway, I thought I had a lot of fun with it. I'm kind of aged out, of these kind of movies because my daughter doesn't watch them anymore. Although I did rub it in her face a little bit that, hey, I'm going to go see Sonic with the writer of Sonic, because she went on this trip and she's like, Dad, that's not cool, So I think she will want to see it. This is kind of a franchise she's grown up with. So I may end up getting this because of that. But it's super fun. If you haven't seen it, Keanu, I mean, come on. Jim Carrey in a dual role. I fucking love dual roles. So I'd legit get the Sonic release if they had writer-director comedies. Commentary. Yeah, no, I want a commentary from Josh. Although Josh has done a ton of interviews. If you look on YouTube, there's a lot of folks interviewing those guys. They've been really made themselves available. Nice. For interviews and stuff. So I'd love to get a commentary from Josh, just because I think he's a podcaster that I like. If you don't listen to his show, Best Movies Never Made, I highly recommend it. It's him and my friend Steven Scarlatta, and Steve and I go way back. Like, Steve and I go back to 14, 15 years. We used to listen to Gentleman's Guide to Midnight Cinema together, and I saw Steve at the screening. Anyway, great podcast, but Josh is great. So I recommend anything he's involved with. So definitely pick this up. It's super fun. It's a super fun family comedy adventure movie, like it's a fun series.
Need to see it. My kids keep asking for it. Next one up is Levels. This is coming on March 4th on Blu-ray from RLJE. This will have a behind the scenes of Levels, a trailer, and a descriptive audio track. Supposedly, this is actually supposed to be pretty good, even though I heard literally nothing about it all year. But this is coming out soon.
Huh? Yeah, this is one. I'm a regular haunter of the Voodoo Fandango at Home, like Tuesday releases. So when new stuff gets announced on Tuesdays, I'm actually checking it Monday night at 9:30 to kind of just see what's up. Like, I bought The Order, just came out this week, and everybody's talking up. Have you seen The Order yet?
No, we're going to talk about it in just a little bit.
Okay, great. Well, I haven't seen it yet, so that's one for this week that I want to check out. But I saw that pop up, and I'm like, oh, people just keep talking about this. I got to check it out. So this is what I'm getting as I saw this pop up, and I was like, what is that? I don't know. It looks interesting, but I have no data, no confirmable data about it.
Nothing at all.
Zero.
All right. Next is February 4th, a Walmart exclusive 4K steelbook of Blade, the original from 1998. This is literally just a reprint of a steelbook. This is one that sold out pretty quickly when it went at Best Buy, I believe, and you can get this pre-ordered now.
Haven't seen this in a minute, so I'm due to rewatch it very soon.
The rumor is we might get 2 and 3 on 4K this year.
Exciting.
So if that's the case, they're going to give us a 1, 2, 3 set. So I'm not clamoring to get this, but yeah.
Cool.
Another one of those, Evil Dead Rise getting a reissue of a steelbook. This is coming on February 18th as a Walmart exclusive. Now, the big thing is it looks like this carries over the exclusive bonus features that were released in the UK and not on the US disc.
Oh.
So there may actually be a reason to pick this one up if you are super into the Evil Dead franchise, which, if I know everybody watching, most of you probably are.
And I am too, but shamefully have not yet seen Evil Dead Rise. I'm embarrassed.
Oh.
I missed. You did what?
It's, first off, it has one of the best title screens ever in film.
I like that.
And it's good, but to me, it didn't feel like a true Evil Dead film.
I think that's kind of the vibe that I got from a lot of people, and part of the reason I didn't rush to see it. But I like to support new horror, and for whatever reason, it didn't. It just hit at the right time. Had it hit like this year, let's say, my daughter is now into horror in the biggest. Like, in fact, most movies I can't draw her interest in at all. But we took her to see Longlegs. We took her to see Maxine. We took her to see, and that's not really horror, obviously, but. And we took her to see Cuckoo at the Vista this year. And so if this had come out this year, I would have taken her to see it. So if another Evil Dead movie comes out in 2025 or 26 or whatever, I'll probably be more likely to see it. Evil Dead Rise feels like Evil Dead meets Demons 2. Wow. I mean, you are selling me with that. I did hear that it's I do like Demons 2. I love apartment building horror, it
is great for that aspect.
But yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, that doesn't, to me, doesn't say Evil Dead movies, but so I do need to check it out. The visionary producers of the original classic.
So Stan is asking, the original classic, what the fuck? It's in tiny print from the visionary producers of the original classic, which just means Bruce Campbell was there giving some money to it. And Sam Raimi, of course.
Yeah. I should see it. I want to see it. It's just like I fall behind on new horror pretty easily.
Right.
And with Elric, the other thing is I think Elric liked it. I can't remember his take, but I kind of with the new stuff, especially, I'll lean to him and be like, what did you like when I have a moment to watch a new horror movie? And again, he may have said he liked it, but I may have, in some cases, even he can't override the general vibe that I'm getting from people, which is, it's okay, which. It's fine. Like, I want to see it. I should check it out. But it's exciting to me when we get this is a domestic release, right? And they're bringing over UK features. That doesn't seem like that ever really happens.
It's not super common, but
right?
The original release of this came out first in the US, and then they released the Steelbook in the UK. And that one, it felt like they were getting the bonus features ready, and the US disc, time to turn it in, just came, and they weren't ready. And so they put them on the UK disc, and people in the US that already bought it were just SOL.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm glad they're getting another opportunity if they want, or those that waited, I guess.
Right.
That's cool.
Well, speaking of getting another opportunity, a company that has not had a lot of opportunities to keep some people interested in quite some time, Culture Shock Releasing is back. In February, they are releasing from Graveface Distribution. For all of those that forgot, they're literally a TerrorVision partner label. They're putting out Late Night Classics Volume 2, which includes Assault of the Party Nerds and Assault of the Party Nerds 2.
Didn't know there was a second part to Assault of the Party Nerds.
It came out 6 years later. That's why.
Heavy Petting Detective. Okay, interesting.
1989 and 1995, and this is a pretty stacked release. For the first film, we got a commentary with Michelle Bauer, Richard Gabai, and then we've got production still slideshow, some bloopers, trailer, B-Movie Awards with Rhonda Shear, all that stuff. But then the big thing, Disc 2 for the second film includes the introduction with Rhonda Shear, commentary with the same people behind the scenes, and the USA Up All Night appearance with Rhonda Shear and Richard Gabai. That is incredibly rare.
How did they clear that even? That's
a great question.
Because, I've never heard of that being included in a disc before, that kind of thing. Huh,
and then,
that's fascinating.
On this one, they also have a third disc, which will be the soundtrack from both films. And from what I hear, that might always be included because the person that took care of the whole soundtrack is really proud of it and wants it always included. So I don't know if they're going to do a standard edition without the disc, but you can get this now with the slipcover, supposedly selling fairly well. We'll be shipping in February on Blu-ray.
This is one I always confuse with Killer Nerd, the Trauma movie.
Yeah.
So I never saw either, weirdly. The nerd trend of movies in the 80s somehow missed some of them, and so I don't even really know. Very nice, Maddie. I don't even have a take on this. Well, if Steph pre-ordered, then shit. I guess I gotta think about this. Damn.
The other big thing, and this is not to induce FOMO. This is if you're even remotely interested in this. One thing that TerrorVision is doing is I don't even know what they're calling it, but it's like introductory pricing. So the first week of this movie is going to be a special lower price if you pre-order. So right now it's $29.99, and in a few days it'll go up to $32.99. It's not a huge jump, but it is an incentive to buy now.
It's good to know, and that's why I love your show, man. You know, you save me a couple bucks here and there. Like that's important. No, that's important. And damn it, this was definitely not one I was thinking I was gonna have to pre-order for whatever reason. But now the soundtrack, weirdly, I didn't even know what the soundtrack is, but for some reason, it seems like it'd be fun. So
yep,
shit. All right,
I kind of want it.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a big one, and for them to come back, I mean, their last release was Night of the Bastard, and that was like, oh gosh, shipped last February, I think.
Oh wow.
I mean, they got announced as a partner label of TerraVision in August or September of 2023, and this will only be their second release since then.
Wow. Interesting.
So this is a big return for Culture Shock. Hopefully they can be at least a little more consistent over the coming months. As somebody that knows some of the titles they have, they've got some great stuff. I would love to see some of their stuff get some good love. So
okay, well I'm very curious, because I'll be honest, like the amount of Culture Shock titles that I needed when they were a Vinegar Syndrome partner label was maybe 15%. It was a very low percentage, and they started out with maybe one of their best titles, which is Girlfriend from Hell.
Yep.
And it was, for me, I'm not trying to be a dick, it was just kind of all downhill from there in terms of some of the stuff they were doing. But I'll be honest, there's some of those that I don't know. Yeah. I ended up getting American Scream and Game of Survival, I think. And did they do No Resistance?
No, that's Saturn's Core.
Saturn's Core, that's right. Okay. So I guess that's maybe the only 3 of theirs that I own. So this would be 4 if I end up getting it.
Girlfriend from Hell is great. I just, for some reason, I wish it got a little more like Assault of the Party Nerds, a little more sleazy with it. It was.
I'm with you.
It was the perfect 80 vibes, but man, you needed just a little more edge.
Yeah, it feels like it's going to be edgier than it is. You're right.
Absolutely. Weird transition, but speaking of edgy, have you ever seen The General's Daughter? March 18th, Kino is releasing The General's Daughter on 4K. This is like the dad movie of all dad movies. No new bonus features on this. We got an audio commentary from the director that was done years ago. The Blu-ray disc has some behind the scenes, alternate ending, deleted scenes, stuff like that. But as you're looking at this, you got the 5.1 surround and new 4K scan, and that's pretty much what you would buy this for.
I'm trying to remember, does this have any kind of a Rashomon plot device thing going, or am I thinking of Basic?
I wouldn't call this Rashomon like, I don't think. Okay. But it's been a long time since I've seen it.
I remember hating it when it came out, but I feel like I watched it again and I was like, okay, I don't hate it.
Right.
But I feel like I also conflate it with other movies. I only saw Basic for the first time. Okay, couldn't stand this movie. Yeah, I do remember really being turned off. Is it crazy? Terry's on fire tonight. Yes, that's probably a good way to put it, Terry. If I need something to knock me out, some Benadryl and or General's Daughter, and I'll be good to go, I think. I can't say I'm particularly excited about this one. Although speaking of Basic, I'd love to see Basic get I think it has a Blu-ray, but I think it's out of print. I only saw that for the first time this year because my friend Ben David Grabinski was on Blank Check talking about when they did McTiernan, and I was like, what the fuck is this movie? And it's a flawed movie, but it's really interesting. And it is Rashomon-like. So anyway, that's also Travolta, which is why I'm sidetracking from General's Daughter.
True.
Anyway, yeah, not as psyched about this, but for those General's Daughter fans, those 2 of them, they'll be really excited that this is coming out.
Likewise, I don't remember liking this all that much, but I remember my dad loving this. So I've always just thought of this as a dad's movie.
That's hilarious. That's funny.
All right, going to the next one. We've got Black Sheep, the partner for Tommy Boy. This is coming out on 4K from Kino Lorber, which I'm kind of surprised Paramount just didn't do both of them.
Yeah, why not do a double? It seems crazy that they. Yeah. I mean, it is a step down from Tommy Boy, no question.
Sure,
but it's still pretty funny, if I recall. Yeah. This is when I have seen like once and was like, oh, it wasn't Tommy Boy. I don't need to come back to it as much. But now, weirdly, I'd kind of be almost nostalgic for it. I almost want to watch it now just because I don't remember. And I'm always in the mood for something that'll make me laugh these days.
Yeah. The cool thing, new commentary by Penelope Spheris on this, moderated by Simon Abrams. Penelope Spheris has had some incredible titles come out over the last handful of years, and I mean, she does great when she's speaking about them.
I'm a huge fan of hers. Love her stuff. It's been great to see most of her movies get some kind of physical release. You know, even when just like Dudes came out, I was like, I never thought this was going to get a physical release. Same thing with Suburbia. I mean, if you haven't seen both of those, definitely check those out. I think those are both Shout Factory releases.
Yes. I believe so.
Yeah. Anyway, she's great. So that's really the fact that she does a commentary just upped my interest in this release for sure.
All right. That is Black Sheep. Next up, incredible Christmas movie. The Silent Partner getting a 4K release from Kino soon. We don't have a release date on it. This is one starring Elliot Gould, Christopher Plummer, Susanna York, directed by Daryl Duke. Really like one of my favorite Elliot Goulds. This movie's incredible.
Yeah, one of the best Christmas movies for me out there. Curtis Hanson screenplay and a truly unhinged performance. Yes, Stan, that's the proper response. Truly unhinged performance from Christopher Plummer. Like if you watch, I always say if you watch Sound of Music and this movie, it will fuck you up, man, because he is so fucking evil in this movie. And for those who don't know, it's also got an early John Candy in a small role. But yeah, Elliot Gould plays a bank teller named Miles, and he is able to sort of anticipate a bank robbery based on some circumstances and decides he's going to set aside some of the cash for himself. And Christopher Plummer, when the tally for the robbery is announced, is like, hey, I just got fucked on this. What's going on? And then he decides to go after Elliot Gould's character, and it becomes one of the best cat and mouse, scenarios that I can think of in terms of how they fuck with each other. And they fuck with each other real good. And there's a grisly death in this thing that you don't see coming. And it's one of my favorite things Curtis Hanson has ever been involved with. This is an unpopular opinion. I like this better than LA Confidential. That's how much I like this movie. I just think it's such a great movie.
One of the best things I think about this, and probably more credit for the screenwriting, I guess, but one thing this movie does that a lot of movies of the time didn't do is it did not take like the education of the people doing it for granted. So Christopher Plummer just sort of works out that Elliot Gould ripped him off. He didn't have to be told anything, and usually the criminal or bad guy would just be dumb as rocks, and he went like full intelligence and was all about it. Yeah, this movie rules. It's
great. High recommend. You should watch it now, close to the holidays. It's the best Christmas movie. This was in my, letterbox for I just did some Christmas noirs, and it was like this and The Ice Harvest and Blast of Silence and I can't remember the fourth one, but
it's probably Lethal Weapon.
No, not Lethal Weapon. Not Lethal Weapon. But yeah, this is. I mean, the New Bev used to do a really surprisingly great double feature of this and Die Hard. They do Die Hard and The Silent Partner. And weirdly, they work incredibly well together. And I'm bummed. I don't know if something happened with the print for Silent Partner that it became harder to get, but they stopped doing that double bill. And Elric and I saw it as a double bill at the New Bev, and it was one of my favorite movie-going experiences in a while.
Yeah.
They owned its Canadian setting and try to prevent... Yeah, no, I agree. It is very Canadian, and they don't... Yeah, you're right. It is more of a Christmas movie than Die Hard. Definitely, you're right, Stan. I mean, he's dressed as Santa Claus, for God's sake. So
right.
Oh yeah, Brendan, definitely check this out. This is, of the stuff we've talked about, this is my favorite thing of this round for sure. This is like purely an all-time favorite and a movie that we've championed on the show. I love Daryl Duke in general. I think Payday is another movie that I adore from him. That is just a great look behind the scenes at the country music lifestyle with a great performance from Rip Torn. That's still a DVD only, not streaming movie, but I put it, The Silent Partner and Payday together. You put those two in the same conversation, and you've got a filmmaker that you're suddenly like, wow, who is this guy? Because this is really good stuff,
Nice. It looks like I believe this is on Amazon Prime Video. So if you got a Prime account, you might be able to stream it just in
Watch
case.
it, folks. Watch it before New Year's. It'll still play.
All right. Next up, Ray from 2004 getting a 4K release from Kino here soon. This is the Jamie Foxx, Regina King, Kerry Washington joint. Another great movie. Glad this is coming out. Hopefully they get some new special features on this one, because I feel like this one, what are we at, 20? Yeah, 20 years old. I feel like we could have some sort of like recontextualizing of a pretty great biopic here.
Yeah, I remember liking it. This has been a while since I've seen this. But
Obviously, this is where everybody got Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, I'm a big Jamie Foxx fan. I think he's truly fantastic as an actor. And I'm sure they talked to him at some point, but I'd love to get a new interview with him. But that might be too much to ask for from the niche market that we live in now. I know it's harder to get a high profile guy like that. They want money. Budgets are tight. I get it, but would love to hear him looking back on this movie and maybe what it meant to his career from that point on.
Would be nice to see. Next up, Dune Prophecy, a show that I did not know existed, is coming to 4K and Blu-ray on April 15th from Warner Brothers. As far as I can tell, no bonus features, but you can pre-order these now. I had literally never even seen this advertised, never heard it announced, did not know it existed. Anybody seen it?
Clueless. Anybody in the comments tell us if this is good, because I have no clue. No comments to make about it.
Nothing at all. I still haven't even seen the two Dune movies. I'm going to be honest.
Wait, have you seen neither of them?
Neither of them.
I mean, I think you'll like those. I don't know. I think you'll like them.
For some reason, sand politics just has not been exciting for me yet.
They do say the word spice quite a bit, but when you watch them both back to back, I really think it's hard to deny the cool stuff. Denis is he's a great director, man. He's really one of the great folks working right now. Yeah, it's a prequel to the series of current. Okay, good to know. More information than I had. No clue.
All right, next up, Small Things Like These from 2024 is getting a Blu-ray in the UK on February 3rd from Lionsgate. My indication means that probably will come to the US shortly after from Lionsgate as well. I've heard this is great, but I also hear there was some sort of controversy with this film or the director or something. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But from what I hear, it's that like people were surprised this actually is getting a release for some reason.
Interesting. So, yeah, I only heard vague rumblings that it's pretty good. But beyond that, I don't even really know what it's about. I maybe saw one trailer that I can't remember at the moment. So I have little to go on with this one. But Cillian's obviously a great actor. So I don't know.
He's been pretty incredible. All right, next up, The Order, like we were talking about. Cast in this one, pretty incredible. Jude Law, Nicholas Hoult, Ty Sheridan, Journey Smollett, and Mark Maron, of all people. This is based on a true story, and this is from 2024, coming on Blu-ray in the U.S. from Vertical Entertainment on February 18th.
I'm going to watch this very soon, just because I've heard some great things about it. I didn't even realize it was a period piece set in 1983, so that's cool. Nicholas Hoult having a hell of a year, although I will reiterate something I said to my wife this morning when she asked me what I thought of Nosferatu. I have an issue where when an actor does multiple basically headlining roles in the same year, because it doesn't allow my brain enough space to divorce from the last time I saw them. So the fact that I've seen him in Juror Number 2 and Nosferatu and now this, it starts to make it difficult for me to separate Nicholas Hoult, the actor, from the characters that he's playing. When I see them too much, and I need a year of gestation period. I'm not saying actors shouldn't work more, but I'm just saying for me, when they work 3 times in the year or more, it's unless it's a character actor, that's fine. But I start to be affected. It affects my ability to buy in emotionally to a story,
right? Somehow,
which is not totally fair. It's just something that honestly I have an issue with.
We on one of the other shows that I do, we were talking about like surprising, not necessarily performances, just like general overall things from this year. And what got me thinking about that is Kiernan Shipka. I think she was in 5 great movies from this year. She's not lead. She's not lead in all of them. She's lead in I think 2 of them. But she was in Longlegs. She was in Twisters. She was in that Sweethearts movie that just came out. She did a couple other smaller parts, and that is crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy
that is.
to have that all in 1 year.
No, I agree. And again, I want actors to work as much as they can. It's great. But I mean, that's actually true. Like, he does kind of look like John Reno in like The Professional or Ronin or something on the cover here. Agreed. Yeah. But no, I'm really excited for this one. Like, I dropped $25 just for a digital copy of this. And so that's, indication that I'm ready to watch. And I don't do that very much, with the new titles. It really depends. But the buzz on this one. Oh, okay. I got to see Red One.
That's the one.
I got to see Red One stuff. That's definitely on my list, and I should watch it. Is different and that's good. That's good too. I mean, I'm not saying. I mean, Nicholas Hoult plays a husband in both Juror Number 2 and Nosferatu. They're different husbands, but
he's also been 2 big parts in 2 vampire movies. That's the hard part.
Yes, that is tricky. I agree. Again, I like him very much. I've liked him since About a Boy, and it's the About a Boy reunion that happens in Juror Number 2 is pretty great. But yeah, it's just one of those things where I want to connect as much as I can emotionally, and sometimes there are some small obstacles like that are kind of ridiculously silly, but my own issue. I got to see Red One. It's free, and it's Jake Kasdan, and one of the prompts on Blue Sky recently was name a movie that should have had a sequel. I could have done The Nice Guys, but I figured that was too easy. I did Zero Effect. So obviously I've loved Jake Kasdan from day one. And because he did Red One, he's one of the main reasons I'd want to watch it, is because it's Jake Kasdan. So I got to check it out.
Totally get that. All right, I think we're on our last one, and this is sort of a weird one to end on, so apologies in advance. Sam Hell Films, which is one of those like over-the-top, like not safe for work, 18-plus type of video labels. They're putting out a movie called Worms through this line that they're doing that is called Doom Perversion. This one is interesting because you can pick it up and order it now, and it will be shipping in about a month. But it will only be available until March 1st, 2025. So if you want stuff like this is the only time to get it, and then it will no longer be available.
Huh. That's an interesting business model for sure.
But it's also an interesting line of films that a lot of people could not possibly ever put on because they could never watch the full thing. All right. That is it for the week. But as usual, we normally talk about what is coming out next week in case you forgot. And unlike last week, there's actual titles releasing next week. So just a reminder. Well, first of all, The Searchers 4K has been a weird one coming from Warner Archive. It should have released. There you go. Some people finally started showing it up in their pickups. It got held up for like a half a week, I think, for a couple people. That one should be out available everywhere over the next week or so. Then we go to the regular stuff. Kino in 1 week releasing Snake Eyes 4K, Hatari 4K, Internal Affairs 4K, Miracle Mile, Cherry 2000, and Mr. Monk's Last Case. Pray for Death, the Sho Kasuji film, The Killer is Loose, Rage of Honor, The Beast Within, Monty Walsh, and these are all still just Kino Lorber, still going.
My goodness.
Blood and Lace, Hatari on Blu-ray, Snake Eyes on Blu-ray, Internal Affairs Blu-ray, the Arthur Dong collection, and that's it for Kino. And now everything else. The TerraVision 4K of Rumpelstiltskin will be shipping over the next week to 10 days or so. Yellowstone Season 5 Part 2 is getting released. The Spanish Main from Warner Archive, Black Eye from Warner Archive, Nightfall of Rain from Warner Archive, The Lords of Flatbush from Sony. That, I believe, that is it over the next week. The Searchers, you had a chance to put that in yet?
I just got it, so I didn't yet. It was between that and Demolition Man, and I ended up not watching either because I was trying to watch some stuff for this episode. But I will say, I think The Searchers is going to get lost. I know I don't even have to put this in. I was on a live stream with some of the folks from Warner Archive talking about everything that went into it, and it got me so excited to check it out. I mean, I've been hearing about this restoration playing theaters for, the better part of a year in 70 and how much people love it. And so I know it's going to be great. But what I'm worried about is it's coming at the end of the year, and I feel like a lot of people have already done their best of lists. And so I think this would likely have been on my list had I gotten it a little sooner, but unfortunately I didn't. So I almost wanted to put it on our group of lesser talked about, but I know it's going to get some love,
Right.
coming into the new year, but I still feel like it should be one that we're all really, really excited about because it's going to be great, I'm sure.
It's also a big deal. It's Warner Archive's first 4K. It's the
Yeah.
searcher that everybody asks for every single day, it feels like.
Yeah.
Not only is it the first 4K, but you can tell they're going to do them right. They got Fidelity and Motion to do all the authoring and encoding, and it's, again, from a great restoration. They also, I don't know how widely talked about this has been, but Warner Archive has already said, like, don't expect a ton of 4K. We're talking like maybe 2 or 3 over the next year.
That was one of my questions. I got one question in for George, and that was like, how many are you going to do? And he definitely made it sound like it's going to be few and far between for them. But that said, this is a pretty great start. And so if that's any indication, I'm super excited for anything else they're going to do on 4K. It's going to be big stuff. It's going to be titles they know they can sell a lot of. And
Right.
So I don't know, that really opens it up in terms of there's a lot of stuff they've done over the years that could easily, or Warner titles that maybe they would pick up, in their stead that could be exciting. So I can't wait. But yeah, they we heard from the restoration guys, and it just sounds like it's going to be epic. It's going to be wonderful. I'm going to watch it between now and this weekend, between now and the new year. I wanted to watch it for today, but I just couldn't squeeze it in, but can't wait. I know it's going to be great.
And the other thing, obviously, this isn't a guarantee, but Warner Archive might not be doing a ton of 4Ks. But we also just saw the alternative. Criterion just got a Warner Archive title that they're making 4K with Night Moves. And so the fact that there's multiple avenues that we could see these come, whether it be Warner Archive, whether it be Criterion, or some other label that gets a Warner deal, or Warner puts it out themselves. Like, there's a lot of ways for some of these titles to get out there. So,
No.
Do you know the number one thing that surprises engaged couples? Take a guess. The sheer amount of decisions they have to make while planning a wedding. Indoors or outdoors? How many guests? Are kids invited? Controversial. Which cake flavor? Seriously, how do you even begin to figure out what's right for you? That's where Zola comes in. Zola has everything you need to make every wedding decision a piece of cake, from choosing your dream wedding venue and vendors to deciding how to best spend your budget. With tons of customizable wedding websites, save the dates and invites, every detail will feel like you. Zola will even help you choose the gifts, experiences, and cash funds you really want. The next thing you know, you've planned your whole wedding all in one place. From getting engaged to getting married, Zola has everything you need to plan your wedding in one place. Start planning at Zola.com. That's ZOLA.com.
And that's exciting because Warner Archive's done a ton of titles that I would love to see get 4Ks, and Night Moves that's one of my favorite movies. So I was so excited when Criterion announced that 4K. I mean, I can't tell you. Cannot wait for that. Super jazzed about it.
So as we discussed previously, we've got some titles we're going to talk about that were overlooked from this year. And we got some honorable mentions first. Do you want to go through some honorable mentions before our list? You want to do those after?
Let's do them after, because I may have more than you, and I don't want to.
I think I have 4.
I might have more, but I can be quick about them.
Amazing. All right, let's start with your first one that's from the list.
Okay, so we're doing 5 to start. All right, let me just count.
5 favorites,
1, 2, 3. All right, that works. All right, I'm going to start with one that I just think is pretty adorable but awesomely fun, and that's Cooking Price Wise. This one I actually found out through Blue Sky, through somebody posting that they were getting this. I knew about Vincent Price's cookbooks, but I hadn't heard about this short-lived British TV show that he did. And this release is fucking great. It is such, I'm not even one of those people that puts on cooking shows as sort of a backgroundy, like, let's chill out vibe kind of thing. But Vincent Price doing a cooking show is definitely my kind of chill out vibe. And this is just a really nice release from BFI. This is a Region B release, unfortunately, but it's how many episodes? I want to say there's 6 parts. But what's really neat is there's a great interview with his daughter that's about 18 minutes that I watched last night. And she talked about how her dad loved to eat, but he also loved to go around to restaurants. And because he was him, he's the kind of guy that he could ask the chef at a restaurant, can I get the recipe for X, Y, or Z? And they would give it to him. And so he collected a lot of those recipes, and those ended up going into the multiple cookbooks that he did. And I do recommend checking out. There's Treasury of Great Recipes. Cooking Price Wise is an actual book. I feel like there's even like a third one. But it's so adorable to watch him cooking, even in this like really low budget set that they have for him. There's commentaries on all these. There's a great interview with this woman. I forget her name. She has like a blog about celebrity recipes, and she's collected like 9,000 celebrity recipes over the years. And she's done a book on celebrity drink recipes. She did one on Columbo recipes. Like, I can't remember if it's based on episodes. She did one for Murder, She Wrote, Angela Lansbury recipes. So she's interviewed a couple times, and that's great. It's just a really well put together disc. Like, on top of, it's also got like these really, adorably cheap graphics that are at the front of the show that I kind of just love. But just putting these on at the end of the night, when you're trying to calm down, I found it to be really, really neat. Like, I know this is a movie show and we're about movies, but this is, for me, it's total catnip kind of stuff, and it's a high recommend. I got this from Diabolic. Definitely worth it. A recommend. And I don't feel like this is going to be on a lot of people's top 10 lists, but it is well worth your time. I really love this. Cooking Price Wise, 100%.
So a few other details about it. One that's appealing. It's inexpensive. It's only like $21.99. Definitely worth it at that price. Two, honored that a friend of mine is on the disc as well, interviewing Victoria Price.
Does he? Well, that's a great interview. Well done. Yeah. Nice.
And then another thing for this is it's a label showing that they're willing to do SD files on Blu-ray. All of these episodes are in SD. They are not HD. However, Blu-ray is still the best way to archive these. It's more scratch resistant than DVD. It saves space. All this there's like 9 different benefits to do that over DVD. And BFI doing it, that's a big deal compared to, putting it on 3 different DVDs, which it probably would have been.
Well, it says they're both high def and standard, right? So you get both.
The bonus features are HD. I don't know if any of the actual episodes are HD.
Oh, okay. It says presented on Blu-ray in high definition and standard, because the way they listed on the disc is like, also we have these in SD, so that makes it sound like.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Okay,
maybe.
I don't know. I take your word over theirs, honestly, but yeah, no, it's great. And Steph is still in the chat. I want to know if Steph picked this up, because this made me think of Steph as something she would dig. Yeah, it's great. It's really just the perfect kind of great thing, holiday vibes, but generally any time of year vibes. I love Vincent Price cooking is wonderful.
So Mary says NECA, the action figure company, just released a Vincent Price action figure, and the cookbook comes as an accessory.
Oh, shit.
That's amazing.
Yes, it is. And I don't even collect action figures anymore, but god damn it, I need to get that. Oh shit.
Okay, so I had a lot of trouble making this list, actually, because I feel like I give a lot of attention to stuff in ways that I don't know, maybe people look at weirdly, because I know there's going to be 4,312 people talking about the Hitcher this year, which I get, that's a big deal and all that, but some of these I feel like I've talked about almost too much already. So I kind of wanted to shed some light on some things that I think people are going to forget even came out this year. And the first one is Death Dream from Blue Underground, and this is an interesting one because it's a 4K upgrade. It's not one that a lot of people aren't clamoring to upgrade these, even though Blue Underground is kind of like the high bar for 4K and UHD overall, because their 4Ks are exceptional every single time. But this is a Bob Clark classic, quite possibly maybe his best movie. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but it could be his best movie, literally. Incredible film, looks amazing. And then on top of that, because it's Blue Underground, it's an upgrade, but it got a new audio commentary with Troy Howarth and Nathaniel Thompson. It got a new interview with the actor Gary Swanson, and then it has like every other bonus feature it's ever had. So now, by far, the definitive release of Death Dream, and it's an incredible release. And I feel like so many people aren't even mentioning that Blue Underground put this out this year.
I feel bad.
They deserve laurels for that.
I feel bad. I left it off mine, and I should have included it. It's great. No, I love Bob Clark. I might prefer Murder by Decree personally. I love Murder by Decree. Okay, yeah, Steph, let me know what you think of it because it feels like something you would totally dig. Yeah, no, I'm saying
it is much better than Porky's, Dan.
Yes, yeah, definitely. But yeah, Murder by Decree getting a 4K next year from Kino. Very psyched about that. But yeah, no, Blue Underground. The only question is, where's Manhattan Baby? I just keep asking. The OCD in me is like, finish off that Fulci that you've already done. There must be some issue with it, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, Death Dream, great movie. Elric loves it. And another one that I'm only now coming to appreciate as much as I should, as the sort of classic, groundbreaking film that it is. It really is intriguing and has a rather downbeat ending for this kind of movie, like impactful in a way that some of these exploitation horror movies are not. Like, it's a movie you're like, damn, ouch, okay, fuck.
It is a movie that will linger with you, and saying
it's
that about the movie
right
is
now.
kind of a spoiler.
No, but it is lingering right now. It's one of those, when I rewatched it on that 4K, I was like, wow, this is way more, just more impactful on a lot of levels than I would have given it credit for. And that I think a lot of people would for a movie called Death Dream. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's sort of, but Bob Clark's just a great filmmaker as far as I'm concerned, just a really great filmmaker that works in all kinds of genres.
That's the thing with Blue Underground too, is a lot of people, and I've done it myself, so I'll happily admit it. We overlook Blue Underground because they've not acquired anything new in a decade or more, or something like that. And that's not great. But when you keep giving me the definitive edition of everything you've ever done, that's kind of hard to argue with. Agreed.
No, they have not put out a bad 4K. Like, their 4Ks are top of the line, amazing stuff. I really love Blue Underground a lot. Yeah. So, great pick. All right, this one's going to be, no, it's not really controversial. City of Hope. Sony did a nice job with a couple catalog releases. They did Shotgun Stories as well, which I almost would have put on this list, but this is the one for me. John Sayles' City of Hope, one of his best movies, and one that had not had a physical release since VHS and Laserdisc officially, as far as I know. I don't think it ever got even an MOD DVD, I'm pretty sure. But a really great, picture of a city. It's like an anonymous, the city has a name, but it's not a specific city. But I've always said, and I think it's pretty clearly an influence on The Wire. So if you're a fan of The Wire, this is a movie that looks at city government on all levels and the corruption that lies within it, and has a really incredible ensemble cast, a lot of regular sales players, but beautiful widescreen movie shot by Robert Richardson, looks fantastic on this Blu-ray, and has a commentary from John Sayles. And really, that's all I need, honestly, is a Sayles commentary, because he does a nice job with those. So I was more than excited about this. The bummer is it comes out from Sony, and so it doesn't get much fanfare at all, which is the reason I put it on this list. Is if it had come out from Criterion, which, to be honest, if they could do a licensing deal with Sony, this is a Criterion movie. This is a movie that Criterion could have put out alongside Lone Star, and you'd be like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. So I was only slightly bummed that it was a Sony solo release, but man, I can't recommend this. If you love Lone Star, this is a totally different kind of movie, and I love Lone Star. Lone Star's like a favorite kind of movie for me, and I was so psyched that 4K came out. But this is really one that I got to recommend if you like Sayles. And the other thing for me for Sayles, and this is sort of off topic, but my favorite discovery of the year is his movie Gopher Sisters, which is his last film from 2013, which only has a DVD release, which is out of print. No streaming release, no other physical release. And I fucking loved it. I thought it was so good. I'd love to see him do another movie, but as a last movie, if it ends up being his last movie from 2013, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not okay with him not doing another movie, but like, it's great. So, Sayles has just been one of my favorites for a long time. So really psyched to see this get a physical Blu-ray. City of Hope, baby.
It's a dang good pick.
Really good stuff.
I knew when we decided on this topic, I had to cover something from Mondo Macabro. And I feel like they had a lot of titles this year that were attention grabbing for one way or another, but I feel like this one is going to be the one that's most overlooked and shouldn't be for a few reasons. We had somebody in the chat earlier mention Indonesian film needs a bigger highlight, and that's why I wanted to go with the Warrior trilogy that came out this year. This is the first Warrior film they put out on DVD years ago through Mondo Macabro, and now you get all three on Blu-ray. And the first Warrior film is astonishing because it looks immaculate. The restoration on it is like 20 years old, and it looks like the film is not even 20 years old. It looks so good. There's new bonus features. You get 3 films from a culture that we don't see enough releases from. And based on that, this is something that needs to be in a lot of people that are pushing boundaries, I guess, or wanting to watch films from other countries in a way that you don't get a lot of access to. And Barry Prima is one of the best that you can have when looking into Indonesian film. And so when you get something like this and you look at the fact that they've got new bonus features, they've got some archival bonus features, and they put a lot of love into this. I mean, this comes properly handled. It's a 2-disc release. It's 3 full films. And it was very inexpensive for everything that you're getting, and it looks incredible. So based on that, please check out the Warrior trilogy from Mondo Macabro.
Totally flew under my radar. As much as I try to keep track of what they're doing, they're, like I said, they're one of those labels that, you know, a good percentage of what they put out, I'm like, what is that movie?
Yeah.
Which, you know, to a guy that I feel like I've seen a movie or two in my day, it's impresses me when they can dig stuff out that I've never heard of. So that's a trilogy I completely missed. So I really got to look into that. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's great. I hope more people look at it.
Well, now we're just getting into stuff that are movies that I like. Hungry Snake Lemon was awesome. Oh, that's cool. I got to check that out too. Okay, so this is a big deal because this movie never came out on Blu-ray before, and DVD was a little spotty. I got a UK DVD that was 4x3. It's called Banning. It's from 1967. It is a golf noir. And it stars Robert Wagner and Anjanette Comer, Jill St. John, Guy Stockwell. And it has some slight similarities to Caddyshack, obviously years before Caddyshack. But basically, Robert Wagner shows up at this golf club, and he basically blackmails his way into becoming. Oh, good. Terry knows what I'm talking about. Best sports movie ever. Very nice. No, I mean it's a great, like, I've not seen another golf noir ever. This is totally a Terry kind of movie. Terry digs out a lot of underseen kind of movies. And yeah, so it was really exciting for this to get a release because it is a widescreen movie. And so they did, I don't know if they got, it's not like a new scan. Oh no, new scan that they did. Yeah, that's another thing. Imprint started, I feel like this year is the year they started doing their own scans, right? I don't feel like I saw a lot of
the first year, but they've done more this year for sure.
Yeah, I'm noticing that more. So a new 2K scan of the Inner Positive by them. Commentary by Howard Berger and Steve Mitchell. Interviews with Robert Wagner and Jill St. John. And Sean Burlingame talking about the Quincy Jones score, which is really good. But so yeah, Robert Wagner shows up at this golf club and he starts blackmailing his way into getting a job, and then he's sort of getting involved with some of the housewives that are involved in this community, and it's kind of sleazy for what it is, and it ends in sort of a similar kind of they call it the Calcutta, which is basically a couple golfers play together on teams, in this case for like a whole lot of money, and that gets really intense too. But yeah, it's just one of those movies that I was like, I only discovered like 3 or 4 years ago for the show, and I never thought it was going to get a nice release, and I don't think it'll get another release outside. Like, I don't think this is coming. You know, some of these Universal releases get a domestic. I don't think that's happening with this. I'm just pretty sure this one's not selling enough that they're going to get a domestic. So, you know, hats off slightly to Imprint for always trying to go for stuff that isn't on disc. I know Hertzberg tries to do that too, and some of the other labels do, but this is one I just didn't expect to get, and I'm a big fan of. So it ends up being one of my favorite releases of the year because it's a good movie. You know, it's just a really good, you know, golf noir that, you know, has hard-boiled dialogue in a golf movie. It's weird, but it's fun.
I will continue to say often that Imprint Films every single month being able to say worldwide first on Blu-ray for even one title every single month is astonishing.
Yeah, it's impressive. I gotta say that is clearly part of their mission statement. I can't let that be disrespected. Like, that's pretty cool.
So one of the things that I've really tried to do this year is continue to ring the bell for people that have left OCN distribution and broke out on their own. And so we've got a handful now. We've got Fun City Editions, we've got Deaf Crocodile, TerraVision, Altered Innocence, Culture Shock releasing, and maybe one more that I'm forgetting. But one that already had a very small crowd following them and decided it was best for them to go elsewhere is Altered Innocence. And their stuff with Diabolic continues to be incredible, and really wanted to shout out She is Conan with one of the, first off, coolest art pieces on a slipcover all year.
Pretty great.
This is a film by Bertrand Mandico. They've done a couple other releases from Mandico, and this is a film that will appeal to a lot of people if you give it a chance. This is a modern fantasy, like time travel, gender bending sword and sandals epic. And those are a lot of adjectives you don't normally hear together.
No.
And the only person that I would trust to pull that off right now is Bertrand Mandico. And based on that, if you like any of those adjectives, you should check out She is Conan. They continue to do incredible work. They continue to put out subversive coming of age and queer stories that really don't get a lot of love anywhere else. And based on that, I will always share anything that Alternate Innocence is doing, because they're incredible.
No, it's cool. I mean, it seems like there's like behind the scenes maybe a little animosity potentially from some of these exits.
Yeah.
Which is too bad, because, people got to do what they got to do. And so that there's any bad blood about it is unfortunate. I get that Vinegar Syndrome gives a great platform to these smaller labels, and they obviously have just an incredible to consumer base. And so for you to take that and then leave, I get that could be seen as, that could leave a bad taste for some folks.
Right.
But that said, I do love to see these folks continue. I love that Diabolic is partnering with a couple of them. Yeah. And that MVD is partnered with Fun City, and that things are, continuing to do okay. I know that sometimes they don't get the same kind of notoriety. Like for instance, I didn't know about that release at all. So I feel bad right. Because I do keep a pretty close eye on at least what comes out from the Vinegar Syndrome partner labels. And so sometimes I lose track of this stuff, and I'm like you, I'm like really into this stuff. So the fact that I didn't know about it makes me feel bad. It makes me feel like maybe there's definitely some other folks that didn't hear about it, sure. Which is a shame, because I want these guys to succeed as much as they can, because everybody's just trying to get by and put out movies that they think are important and interesting. And I want to just say I'm behind that, whatever it is that they're doing. So that's exciting. Coming back to Vinegar Syndrome, sometimes they put out movies that I don't expect from them, and 5 Card Stud was definitely a movie I did not see coming from them at all. It's a Henry Hathaway mystery Western with a great cast, including Dean Martin, Robert Mitchum, Inger Stevens, Roddy McDowell, and I just really like. I'm guessing this wasn't a huge seller for them. I just have a feeling that this isn't the movie that the Vinegar Syndrome folks are clamoring for. But I think it's great. It's one that I brought up. We had the honor of having Ryan Johnson on the show back in 2019, 2018, whenever the first Knives Out came out. We had him on the show, and we did mysteries. And this is one that I picked for that episode. And again, didn't think it was going to get a Blu-ray at all, because it just had an old Paramount, I think, DVD. But it's a really great Western mystery. That's a genre you almost never see. It's just not something that happens, where you have like a card game where things go south, and then suddenly people that were involved in that card game start to die. And it's like, it's not a giallo exactly, but it's kind of a mystery as to like who's doing the killing. And it's a great cast. Yaphet Kotto's in here too. I'm just a big fan of it. So I was really psyched when I saw this get announced from them. And it's new, of course, newly scanned and restored in 4K from its 35 camera negative. Commentary track with Brian Hannon, Jack of all trades, Walter Chow talking about the films of Henry Hathaway. That alone is worth the price of admission for this. A Woman of True Grit, Lizzie Franca on screenwriter Marguerite Roberts' legacy. So a really nice collection of extras and just a really good kind of classic Western. It's from 60 something, right? 68. So almost 1970. But yeah, is a movie that I just really like and was really surprised to see get a physical release from anybody, let alone Vinegar Syndrome. Yeah. So I got to bring it up. It was on several of these I've talked about on my favorite Blu-rays of the year episode, but I had to bring it back because I really didn't expect that one.
I don't remember. Is that one from their VSL line?
It should have been, but I don't. Yeah, no, you're right. It is. It is VSL. Yep. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been an odd one to be a subscriber to Vinegar Syndrome and get that, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what I got confused about was I was like, really? They're putting this out right? No, it's a Labs release, and that makes sense. And I'm sure that those classics, the bummer for VSL for me is that clearly what happened, or seemingly what happened, is that they put out these classic titles. They didn't sell well, or at least not as well as they hoped. And so I get that based on your interview with Joe Rubin, which by the way is still one of my favorite podcasts of the entire year. Like I really love that interview with Joe. And Joe's just, what an interesting guy.
Yeah. But
and I get that Vinegar Syndrome Labs was not set up to be just one thing, but It's like they were going to do classic titles, and I was so there for that. But I also understand that maybe those aren't going to sell as well with their core audience, and so I don't know if it was a pivot away from that to other things, or if my guess is they always just kind of had this will be our miscellaneous category. Let's start with classics and then see where it goes. Right. But I would love to see them do more classic stuff like this, or the Cat Creeps, or whatever. Not the Cat Creeps. What was the first one they did with Eddie Robinson? That's an anthology. I can't think of it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to think of it.
I'll look it up. Anyway, that stuff I was just like, yeah, that's great. I'd love to see them keep doing that, and we'll see if it happens. But I'm guessing those titles will be maybe one a year, probably, because that's what they can risk financially to do it. But again, I was excited to see a movie like that get a VSL release.
And what's hard, we can talk all day about how The Keep sold 14,000 copies, and that's a big deal because if you literally just tally up the money, that in 37 hours, that made them, and this is not a dig at Vinegar Syndrome, but holy shit, $650,000 of income. They didn't pay $650,000 to put out The Keep. There's no possible way. Their cost for all that was way less than that. And so what they're making from that could go to stuff like what you're talking about now, or their first title for VSL, which was Flesh and Fantasy.
Thank you. Yes, Flesh and Fantasy, which is a great start. Really great anthology. If you haven't, I'm pretty sure that's not sold out. So definitely grab Flesh and Fantasy if you haven't. Really good anthology noir, but supernatural too. Really, really cool movie. So I hope they do more of that.
One release of The Keep could probably pay for 8 of these smaller titles to go out every year.
Yeah, and I get that that's not as easy as saying, okay, we're going to put it into that. You still want to make money. But yeah, if they continue to put out 1 or 2 classic, interesting titles like this on the VSL side, I'd be so psyched. But I also understand, I don't know the numbers. I don't know how these are selling. And maybe at some point they go, yeah, classic films just isn't exactly working for us. But we'll see. That's the other thing I love about Joe is that he just kind of seems to do what he wants to do too. Yeah. And so from that point of view, they're in a really good position to continue this stuff if they want to. I'm not saying they have to, but it's not, no one title is going to bring them down. So they could do a couple classic titles and see how it goes. And I think hopefully bring in an audience that they aren't getting otherwise. And maybe that helps. I don't know. I'm not running my own business. I have no clue how this stuff works. It just seems like you want to bring in as many people as possible, and maybe that stuff brings in other people. Just my 2 cents.
And the big thing, which we've seen from Vinegar Syndrome, is fan base has evolved too. What you can expect from Vinegar Syndrome 8 years ago is not what you'd expect in 2025. So who knows? We could be looking at an extremely different company in 2028.
Yeah, absolutely. But I will say, for as much as, I dropped my subscription this year for the first time in a couple years, and I'll be honest, I don't regret it. But That said, they are obviously a big driving force behind boutique labels and physical media buying. Like they've clearly figured something out, and I respect that. They've built the brand that people are blindly obsessed about, and sometimes not watching the movies at all, which is unfortunate. But that said, they got my copy of The Keep arrived today. Very nice, Steph. I agree. It's going to be worth some money. And also glad you got the Keep. That's great. Because those that didn't get it, I'm so sorry, because it's going to be one that, it's one of their best that they've done. I'm pretty jazzed about it. But just like they're driving a lot of money, and I can't not be excited about that side of things. Right. The direct to consumer thing they've set up is incredible, and they have, like I said, just an incredible fan base that's buying this stuff sight unseen, a lot of it, and that's great for the overall industry in a lot of levels. I would love, and I don't think those people just buy Vinegar Syndrome, so on that level they're going to continue to get people excited, hopefully, about other labels as well. But they've clearly figured something out, and good for them. Good for physical media on that level.
Fully, yeah, absolutely agree. Up to my number 2 now, and this is one that you and I both shared a lot of love for this company over the last 5 or 6 years, and it's one that is really easy to praise because I've called them the most consistent boutique label out there. And this is a title that's slightly different than a lot of their stuff this year because they've gone very, focusing on genre lawn, but also on some classic stuff too. Got to talk about Indicator at least once. And one that came out of nowhere seemingly, because they used to do some cult stuff, but this year we got Bruiser on 4K. And,
that's a good one.
To have a George A. Romero title that does not end with Of the Dead or Of the Living Dead, and it's a 4K title, that's a big deal.
Yeah, no, this could have been on my list too. This was on my 4K list, I think. I'm pretty sure I put it in. Yeah, no, I did. But yeah, that's a discovery. I had not seen Bruiser. I'd meant to see Bruiser for years, and it doesn't 100% work for me, but it's really interesting. What he's doing is really interesting, just like what he's doing in terms of sociological observation in something like Dawn of the Dead. He's doing something different here, but it's fascinating stuff. It's really fascinating, and I'm not glad I waited. I'm never glad I waited, but to see it in that 4K for the first time was really absolutely ideal, especially with all the extras they put together. That's like a really great release from this. Look at that. I mean, that's
every single time Indicator does something, it is a wall of words.
No, I mean, I didn't want to, I brought them up at the top of the show. I should bring them up more because they are still probably a little underrated for everything they do, but I love them so much. They're literally they're like Arrow is a favorite, but Indicator is also a favorite. I think for the amount, and I've heard this said before, but I agree with it, the amount of chances that they take and the variety of things they do, they've really, really doubled and tripled down on the Jean Roland stuff. I mean, that is incredible. I'm not as big a Jean Roland person myself, but my gosh, it's important cinema and it's beautiful, and putting it out on 4K, I mean, how can I not get excited about that? Just as a film fan, I'm so glad they're doing it. But they also have a crazy, weird, offbeat emphasis on classic film titles, which I adore. Even just the singles they put out. I'm trying to think. There was one that I saw this year, a noir, that I'm blanking on right now, that was really solid with George Sanders. But yeah, Bruiser for me, one of the better 4K releases of the year, but also definitely not overpraised by any means. Needs a spotlight. So I'm glad you brought that up because I was so glad to discover it this year.
One of the things, I think I said this like a couple weeks ago on the show too, but I don't think I had something in hand to display it. The big thing about these Indicator releases for me is a lot of us that love the films and love good packaging for movies that we love. I like stuff like this, and I'm not putting down Imprint in any way, believe me when I say this, but this is a 4K release of a George A. Romero film. This is a 4K release of A Bridge Too Far. Look at the difference in shelf space for these films. And they are both multiple discs. They are both 4K releases. They both have booklets. this is, to me, like, this is a really innovative way to do proper packaging that helps us in the community not have to go, well, I bought 8 titles and now this shelf is full.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I'd rather be able to fit 25 in the space of 8. And Imprint, I love the work you do, but I don't need, if you're doing a 2-disc release, hey, we make 2-disc cases. I'll send you some.
No, I mean, I get the idea of it's nice to have a physical disc and a case for every movie,
right?
But it does take up more space, and I know that there's some people who don't like those. What are those eco cases that Indicator uses? They maybe don't dig that stuff, but like you say, it goes on the shelf. It's got a lot happening, including a nice. I mean, those are the other thing about Indicator is they do, I think, the best books around. Like, I can't think of like who does a better book than them.
Maybe Second Sight.
But... Oh yeah, okay. Second, no, you're right. Those are a little bigger. Agreed. Those are a little more, but second only to Second Sight. Who's, I mean, Second Sight's pretty fucking incredible.
It's a different world. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no. Don't get me wrong. Like those guys are. I mean, they're another favorite label. You know, and I don't buy everything that they put out, but yeah, I mean, when they put out a movie that I'm into, like Green Room from this year was incredible, and obviously The Hitcher was incredible. Yeah, no, it's nice. You do make a good point though about shelf space. Shelf space is a big deal. You know, when you're running out like we are, and I'm way running out. Like I've got stuff stacked on top of stuff, and you do too. I can see it back there. Yeah, it just happens, you know. Yeah, but Bruiser, great choice. And Steph brought up, you know, we had gotten. Speaking of Second Sight, we got Martin recently, you know, and that was one that we were waiting for a long time, you know, a big victory for Second Sight as well, but
for sure. All right, sir. Down to number 1 on your side.
I mean, these are vaguely not really in order, but this is a movie that I really, really enjoy. And that's The Lawyer from Kino. And it stars Barry Newman, who is in, of course, Vanishing Point, which is one of my favorites, and Fear is the Key, which is also great, which I never thought Fear is the Key would get 1 Blu-ray release, let alone 2 Blu-ray releases, one of which from Arrow, which is definitely my favorite of the 2. But this is a really neat movie, and it would spin off into a TV show called Petrocelli. He plays a lawyer who drives a truck camper thing, and I'm just a sucker for a good courtroom drama, although that's not all that this is. It's kind of like an investigative police procedural, too. Basically, he is a lawyer that gets pulled into this case about a guy who supposedly killed his wife. And the guy claims that basically what happened was he and his wife went drinking with some other couples. They came back to his house. He passed out on the couch. He woke up and his wife had been, he saw somebody in the house, and then he got hit over the head and then woke up and his wife had been bludgeoned to death in her bed. And so Barry Newman has to take on this case and try and prove that this guy didn't do it. And I just love that kind of story. And I love Barry Newman, and I think he's really good in this. And this is a Sidney J. Furie film, which is not part of at least any Sidney J. Furie set that's come out yet. But it has a commentary with Daniel Creamer and Paul Lynch, director Paul Lynch, who I'm a fan of, by the way, and I've become more of a fan of him this year. I've seen some of his stuff. Plus some archival interview excerpts from Sidney J. Furie in that commentary, and also includes a new interview with Barry Newman and actress Diana Muldaur, who plays his wife in this. But just a really solid 1970 R-rated lawyer drama, but it's like more than that. Like I'm underselling it by calling it that. Like it's just a really good movie. Like this is one that my friend Matt Lynch from Scarecrow, he and I both, like he texted me, he's like, dude, I was going to recommend The Lawyer to you, but I saw that you already saw it. And he totally loved it. He talked about it on another show that people should be watching is, why can't I think of their show right now? I'm blanking. I've had too much wine to drink tonight. Viva Physical Media.
Yes.
Viva Physical Media. Definitely put that on Scarecrow on your subscribe list, because Matt and Emily do a great show where they go through a ton of cool stuff. And I've been very touched that they've actually ripped off a couple things from Pure Cinema for that show. Emily's a big friend and a big fan of the show. But Matt is great. I've known Matt for like a decade or more online. I've never met Matt in person. I got actually to meet Emily this year in person when she came out to LA.
Yeah.
Anyway, this came up on their show also, so it's doubly recommended. Definitely check out Viva Physical Media. It's a great YouTube show.
Sidney J. Furie, gotten a lot of love over the last couple of years. Incredible filmmaker. Supposedly getting some more releases next year. So excited for that.
Very nice.
You started with one that you said, I know this is about movies, but here's a cooking show. I'm going to end on one that is not movies with a TV series, trilogy-ish. I still think it's incredibly random and under the radar that people don't understand that this happened. That Mubi made it possible for everybody to complete their Lars von Trier collection with the Kingdom trilogy this year.
Oh, yeah, that's a good call.
And Mubi does not do stuff like this very often. And now, for people that love Lars von Trier like myself, you have the Kingdom 1, the Kingdom 2, and the Kingdom Exodus on Blu-ray. Big box set, lots of stuff on here. I know that Lars von Trier is not everybody's cup of tea, but if you like him and you like the stuff that he does to subvert expectations at every single possible opportunity, the Kingdom, I still have not finished the third one yet, but I mean, there's almost 1,000 minutes worth of content in this box set, literally, God, just from the series. So it's one that if you've never checked it out, I think that you would probably like it if you're into this type of story. Lars von Trier is a hell of a filmmaker, and I understand that we might be done with his films if he's fully retired. He hasn't said fully yet, but it looks like that's quite possible. But yeah, now we have an opportunity to literally have everything.
No, I remember when that show came out on some kind of foreign DVD, probably 20 years ago, and I was obsessed with it. I was like, wow, this is crazy, dark, weird stuff that I didn't expect, and it was totally different from anything Lars von Trier had done at that point. And I was just like, and it still might be one of my favorite things that he's ever touched. Like, I think it's such a great, fascinating show. Like, if you like horror movies, if you're a horror person,
or Twin Peaks.
Yes, that's a good touchstone for this. Definitely worth a look. Weird hospital, like weird Twin Peaks ER would be kind of a sell, but not proper, like you can't sell it properly. But yeah, fascinating show that I couldn't wait to watch the next episode of when I got it, So I need to get that set. I didn't pick that up. TV is weird for me. It's weirdly disposable in a way that I don't come back to it outside of Freaks and Geeks and some shows that I've watched a ton. I don't come back to it as much as I should, but that's a show that I want to own on Blu-ray, and I should get it because that's another one I think my daughter would like that I should check out. So glad that came out. Yeah. And I forgot it was Mubi too. That's great.
It is Mubi. Yeah. It's an odd choice for them. All right, sir.
I got a ton of honorable mentions. How do you want to do this? Do you want to just do...
I'll do my 4 real quick, and then we can spend time on yours, because I like that. I'm going to go through, let's see, 2... Well, I'm going to do one that's weird first, that's not really overlooked, but like I said, I'll explain. So I have a feeling most people don't understand that this is such a big deal. In one sale from Vinegar Syndrome, that you get the Keep, Looking for Mr. Goodbar, Who Killed Teddy Bear, Cannibal the Musical, all in 1 month. This is going to be the one that didn't sell 14,000 copies in 37 hours. And so people are just like, it's Looking for Mr. Goodbar. I'll get it eventually. No, The Keep was not number 1 on everybody's most wanted Blu-ray list. This was. The fact that you own this should be a bigger deal. The fact that this is available commercially for people to purchase with everything intact, save for one song in the background of one scene, that is an amazing, amazing win for physical media. And it's hard to convey how much that means when it's literally been like decades in the making. I know we just talked about Vinegar Syndrome making $650,000 from one title, but this is why stuff like that's important. Money talks, and sometimes money will pay for lawyers to clear things to be released. And now you have literally the number 1 most requested movie on Blu-ray ever in your hands on 4K even. That's a huge deal.
Yeah, and I just of course bought the VHS of it not even 2 or 3 weeks before it came out, because I was like, no fucking way are they going to clear those music there's just too much high-end music in it that they'll never clear it. And Vinegar Syndrome figured it out. And I can't say that I don't respect the hell out of that, because that is not an easy legal quagmire to solve, So big hats off.
I've got one genuine and then two that are kind of self-promoting. So I'll do the genuine one first. Imprint releasing Secretary on Blu-ray. Incredible movie, but the big thing, great-looking Blu-ray, lots of new special features. That's the big thing for this, is people actually contextualizing it appropriately. We have a new audio commentary with what's his name? Veronica Fitzpatrick. And then we got an audio commentary that was archival from the director and the writer. We've got brand new From Me But Not Me actor Stephen McCaddy on finding the heart in an imperfect father. A magical oasis that is the art director Nick Ralbovsky doing another interview on this, making an indie classic. Like, there's all kinds of new stuff on here, which on a title like Secretary, that's not something I truly expected in 2024. So it's nice to see that. One that I think a lot of people laughed at this year, that it's on 4K UHD, but I think it's going to go unnoticed that we have the definitive release of the Nailgun Massacre out there. Yes, I'm on the commentary and did like 4 of the interviews on this, but this release is genuinely incredible. This title looks great in 4K. It doesn't need to.
Is it still available, by the way?
It is still available.
Okay,
yes.
Good to know.
Incredible 4K, lots of new bonus features, 2 new commentaries for Nailgun Massacre. You can check that out. And then the last one, I don't know if, kind of like you said about The Searchers, this is one that I think it showed up at the end of the year and some people are going to forget. It is still an amazing reality that Deaf Crocodile put out Felidae on 4K.
I literally, this is one that I got to admit, like, slipped by me, and I didn't even realize it was a 4K. Yeah. And I watched the first 20 minutes before this, and I was like, fuck, I got to finish this movie when I get done. It's one that I've been meaning to see for a long time. And I mean, it's like, again, like we talked about banning being golf noir. This is like cat noir. I mean, it's like cat investigating cat murders. And I was like, this is so up my alley, man. This is so good. Like, I'll either finish it tonight or tomorrow, but looks gorgeous in 4K. You and Will did the commentary, which I'm very excited to check out. Deaf Crocodile, a little slept on, I think, in general. And I'm guilty of that as much as anybody. Like, they're doing some really nice work. And I apologize to Craig Rogers right off the top, because Craig's such a sweet guy and a great supporter of mine. And I'm so sorry that I haven't been able to dig in more to what they're doing. But this one, I was like, oh shit, this should have been on my 4K list. Like, right away, I'm like, I can tell this is something. I was hoping you'd bring it up, because I was like, I can tell this is something I'd be into. And I was so digging the first 20 minutes of this that I got to finish it off. Great pick.
Nathaniel over at Mondo Digital just posted a review for it, and for the first time, somebody pointed out our puns on our commentary, and he gave a special shout out to the fact that we use the word sadomasochistic in our commentary.
Oh, that's fucking great! I love it. No, like I said, I'm very excited to hear you guys talk about it. But I was like, oh man. The only thing I'll say, and I get why they do it, and I get that maybe some of these don't have English versions. There is no dub available; it's only German. Right. Yes, Steph, you're totally right. Like, they've done some of my favorite animated releases in the last 5 years have been from them. And so the fact that this came out and I didn't jump on it right away is just me being a fucking idiot, because I should have been like, oh, that sounds, I mean, it's a movie I'd heard of vaguely, but their release it's beautiful. The animation is like, it's like Don Bluth meets that later, Disney stuff.
Yep.
Where, like, I'm thinking like Aristocats, and I love they actually make a reference to Aristocats in the first 20 minutes. Like, this is not Aristocats, basically. But yeah, oh man, pro cat noir. Yeah, I'm not even a cat person. No offense to cat people, but I love the idea of a sort of a cat detective who's like, but also like that unlikely cat detective who's just like moves into a neighborhood. And some dude who lives nearby is like, yeah, we just had this fucking murder over here. This cat got his throat ripped out over here. And you're like, oh shit. And it's dark. I mean, it's really dark. And it's just getting to the point now where I'm like, oh, there's a lot going on in this story, with some crazy, cat cults and shit. Like, oh man, I'm so in on this. So like, yeah, I'm glad you brought it up, but I would have if you hadn't. So I'm glad it's on the list.
All right. Everything else is for you, my friend.
All right. Well, I'll try and be quick about this. I don't want to be ridiculous here,
Take
but
your time.
I just got this in the mail, the Stone tape. This is 101 Films, and they, you know, they do a lot of re-releasing other people's stuff with, you know, a new commentary here and there. This one, though, pretty fucking great. I got to say, This is the one I was trying to hint at before. This has Kim Newman on a commentary with Nigel fucking Neal talking about this thing, which is a BBC. It's a Christmas. You could make it a Christmas movie if you want. 1972 shot on video supernatural story about some researchers working on this. As a team of scientists discover a new recording medium, and they take over this brooding Gothic mansion recently purchased and renovated by their employers. And basically they're sort of trying to investigate the hauntedness of it. And it's genuinely creepy stuff. Like, it's genuinely unnerving and scary in a way that I wouldn't expect a movie, especially shot on video, to work. But this has got, you know, a really nice thick book. I mean, this is a really nice release from 101 Films that I don't hear anybody talking about at all right now, personally. Maybe I missed it, but yeah, it's great. Great extras on this too. And definitely, I don't think this is sold out or anything. So this is one you could definitely still get. I got this through Diabolic.
Shockingly inexpensive too for everything you get with that.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Like, really good British sci-fi horror stuff. Nigel Neal, one of the great like Quatermass guy, and just a ton of great, you know, content from that. Okay, so this is gonna be tricky. This is a Mutant Aliens. Oh, I want to see that. I didn't even realize that was coming. I love that they've done stuff with Bill Plimpton.
They're doing 2 in the next few months from Bill Plimpton.
Nice. That's very exciting. No, I'm Deaf Crocodile. If you take nothing away from this live stream, definitely keep an eye on what they're doing, is what I would say, because they sneak up on me, and I try to keep track of these things. This is a German release of How's It Poppin'? That came out this year in a couple different forms. Oh, you got it too. Very nice. Yes. So I was watching this last night. It has a German commentary, which is too bad, but it also has a video essay, which is in English, which is good. More than 25 minutes. It's definitely like a collector's print kind of situation. It's a little scratched up, but honestly, this is another one where, like, I just don't think we're gonna get a nicer. I don't know if this is getting a restoration. I just think I don't know what the legal issues are with it, but it just feels like this isn't coming. And this movie is, this is my Christmas Eve watch, and I was just like, it's just goofy, crazy lunacy. It's just nuts. Yeah, I mean, this is a Joe Dante favorite, and you watch it, and you totally go, oh yeah, that tracks. That makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, a little scratchy print, and there's 2 different cover designs for this. This was the easier one to get. I think I got it from Amazon Germany. Where'd you get yours?
Diabolic, I think. It's hard to track though, because Diabolic and Orbit and Brother Belial and maybe Grindhouse Video have not Grindhouse. It must have been Atomic. I think they've all gotten them, but then they sell out quickly, and then a restock takes like 10 weeks, literally.
Yeah. No, and I get it.
You'll never know when it's going to show up.
You got to put yourself on the list at Diabolic or one of these other places for when they get restocked. I did that, and it took so long that I eventually found it on somewhere else. But Diabolic would be the way if they. I'm sure this is a distributor that's hard to get a restock on, but this is a really fun movie that I highly recommend. From Decanalog, I talked to him on my channel. That guy, Dick Miller, is one of my favorite documentaries of the last 10 years. And I love Dick Miller. It's a wonderful documentary by Elijah Drenner. Definitely check out my interview with Elijah. What's really neat about this is it has a whole bonus movie, Star Hops from 1978, which admittedly has a smaller part for Dick Miller at the front. But Elijah had a nice story about how Bob Murawski at Grindhouse Releasing had the movie, and he basically just gave it to them. He's like, you know what? Here, you guys put it out on your disc for free, no charge. And so you get a bonus movie, which is always a really great, we've talked about bonus movies. That's a great feature to have, but it also has a commentary with Elijah and Laney Miller and cinematographer Al Schneider, who I'm a big fan of. And yeah, I just love this movie. One of my favorite Decanalog releases of the year. So glad they put this out. Just a great doc.
And Star Hops, you can't get it on Blu-ray anywhere other than on that disc.
And I don't even know if it had a DVD release. You could correct me on that, but I think that's the first physical release beyond maybe a VHS, which I can't guarantee it even had a VHS release, to be honest.
I don't think it had a DVD, no.
Yeah, so it's a really, and it's just a fun girls take over a drive-in kind of exploitation. It's fun. It's a fun movie. Coming back to Film Masters, here we have Redneck Miller, which I talked about on my favorite disc. This is one that Tarantino had played as part of a Grindhouse retrospective thing he did in like 2011 and was impossible to find. Literally, I don't think ever got any kind of home media release, as far as I know. Maybe there was some slight VHS regional thing, but I couldn't find, like, I was digging deep for any kind of rip of this movie. I wanted to see it so bad. And I'm glad I waited, because this is just a beautiful restoration they've done of this movie. Looks great. It's kind of like a Hicksploitation, blaxploitation movie. You mentioned Justin Humphries a few times. He does a really nice commentary on this, but this was one that I just been waiting to see. It's basically about a radio DJ who's kind of a ladies' man who gets framed for a drug steal and has some sort of a black gang of drug dealers coming after him, and they're just kind of messing with each other. But it's very regional, but fun, and just kind of not like any Hollywood movie you'd ever see from 1976. But really so psyched that Film Masters put this out. This is really solid stuff.
Yeah, that's one that never probably would have got any other release. And without Film Masters, I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah, I just really never thought I'd be able to see the movie, period. Okay, this is one that I'm not sure, like, are people talking enough about this? Because I don't know.
Yes and no. It's an odd one because it just started showing up in Walmarts and Barnes and Nobles, but it's also like really overpriced.
At those places? Or just in general?
I think they only did the Blu-ray version in those stores, and even the Blu-ray version is like $65.
Wow, that is a lot. Because I didn't pay that much for this from the A24 site. I feel like it was under $60.
So the 4K version was 83, I think.
Wow, did I pay that much for it? I remember paying $83 for this. But yeah, so this is a great 4K that I got from A24. One of the greatest, maybe the greatest concert movie of all time. It's probably known enough, but I just felt like, you know, for what it is, everybody should be talking about this. So that I just threw that in the mix for whatever reason.
It's also a big deal to point out that A24 is now licensing titles to put out on physical media. I mean, that's something that we're not giving enough attention to. They did this and then Pi too. Yes,
which I still need to get. I really want to get that Pi disc. Good night. Thanks for hanging with us. Sorry we're going so late.
This is not late yet. You're good.
So this one I was checking out today. I just got this TV Movie of the Week set from Imprint. Nobody's talking about this one as far as I can tell. This has 3 movies, 2 of which I don't think have been released before. It has what? Okay. The Deadly Dream with Beau Bridges and Janet Leigh, which is my favorite of these 3, I think. Which is very much like a Twilight Zone. Like he's a scientist working on this DNA experiment, and he's having these dreams that he's being persecuted by this tribunal, and it becomes like a dreams and reality melding kind of, and it's only like 73 minutes. Really solid Twilight Zone vibes, Kafka vibes. Like I really enjoyed that. Baffled, which was a TV pilot that Leonard Nimoy did that you can see is supposed to be, they even have like the opening credits that's got like that 70s like funky kind of like, you know, opening credits in a movie. So you're like, oh, this feels like a show. Right. And it's not quite as good as Deadly Dream, but I've been wanting to see that one for years. I had like the VHS of it for a long time, and I guess I didn't watch it because I did not remember a damn thing when I just finished this one before I started. And then it's got Scream Pretty Peggy, which Kino has already put out. And they do have a new audio commentary on it, but they've got lots of nice features on these, and the Baffled has like 2 different versions. Wow. And it's a nice set, and one that I feel like nobody's talking about at all. And
that's true.
I know that these don't sell well. Kino has they've asked Frank a bunch about TV movies, and he's clearly stated they just aren't selling as well as we'd like. And that bums me out because there's so many great TV movies out there that could make great releases on Blu-ray, and I just know they're probably not going to happen, unfortunately, which is too bad.
What's crazy is how many of them are directed by huge name directors or have giant stars, and it's like, well, focus on those ones and maybe they'll sell well.
I hope. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough thing. You just don't know. And I know I was talking to Hertzberg about this, and it's tough because a lot of times they're part of certain packages, and it's hard like to get one of them. Oh, that's so nice. Wow. I'll try to be on more. It's tough to, here's the thing, just for people that don't know, Ryan knows this, but I don't have a dedicated space to do podcasts. Right. So I'm doing this downstairs in my house right now, and nobody's really home right now. So that's part of the reason I can do it. But if I have to do it on a regular Thursday night when my wife is home, I take a little heat if I sit down here for 3 hours and she can't. But I will try to talk to her, because this has been absolutely a blast, Ryan. I've had so much fun doing this. So I would love to come back. Anyway, this was fun and great features for Imprint. Just a couple more here. I checked out Dog of Vengeance from Severin. This is one that Quentin had talked about on our show in like 2021 as a discovery, and pretty solid stuff. And I'm a big dog person, but it's all basically about a German Shepherd that kind of makes a vendetta against Jason Miller and is hunting him. The only thing is the dog gets sidelined a little too much for me in this movie. Like, I wanted more dog hunting him stuff. And there's some like revolutionary plot lines that I don't love as much, but it's still really interesting and amazing that Severin put this out with a lot of great extras too, that I haven't had a chance to dig into, but just watch this for the first time and really dug it.
Wanted to point out, Cloud says, I only paid $58 for that Stop Making Sense 4K back in June. I think I was thinking of the bundle they did. There was something that you
could, yeah, that sounds about right. 58 sounds more like, because I don't think I'd pay 84.
Even 58 is high for a 4K. It is. And even their regular 4Ks that are coming in the regular size boxes, those are only like $35. So it was quite a large increase.
I mean, it's tough too, because like, I know people they're not used to going to the A24 site to buy them.
Right.
And so I think a lot of those aren't as known that they're even available, like, Love Lies Bleeding, I've seen some people buy it, but you got to go to the A24 site. By the way, Love Lies Bleeding, if you haven't seen it, oh my God, just one of the best movies of the year. And I need to pick up that 4K personally. This is really great. Hush 4K from Scream. Now, it's great that this is getting a physical release. We can talk about how the fact that this came out on Netflix and then is not currently streaming on Netflix anymore. This is why this is important. That movie completely goes away. And then, what's his name?
Flanagan
gets the rights back. And not only does he put it out on 4K, but what's really, really exciting about this, and I know the people that know this release know about this, but it has what they call the shush cut, which is a new cut of the film, black and white, which he had planned to do, but he's got a great intro with his wife where he talks about they almost accidentally stumbled onto the sound mix, which is like they were doing the mix and the mixer had turned off all the music and just had the sound effects, and they were watching it and they were just like, oh, what's going on here? That's not right. And he's like, oh, no, I'll fix it in a minute. We're just doing. And then he was kind of like, oh shit, I'm actually kind of loving this. So basically they stripped out almost all the music except for maybe the end and made it black and white. And it's even fucking better than the original movie, which I already liked. I already liked Hush. I think it's actually one of my favorite Flanagan movies, personally. Yeah. That's me. But the Shush cut is fucking great. Have you watched this yet?
I've not watched the Shush cut, but Hush I've seen multiple times. And like you mentioned, it not just disappearing from Netflix, it was gone for like 18 months from everywhere.
That's crazy. And the article today, I think, was partially about those straight to streaming movies that you can only watch and that, you can't even buy digitally and that could go away. Like, I will cry the day that Palm Springs drops off of Hulu, because that is one of my biggest comfort movies. In fact, I almost watched it again last night. I've probably seen it 4 times since 2020. And I'm not a guy who watches a ton. I mean, I watch
a bootleg.
Well, I need to do that probably, because ultimately it's one of those movies I love so much that I need to have a physical copy, because I don't want to lose access to it. But that said, these movies going away is scary and upsetting, and so that's why part of this is really exciting. But not only do you get that, you get this new version of it, and that's not being talked about enough, because this should have been. I can't remember if I put this in my 4K. I don't think I did. I don't think I put this on my 4K list, which is one of those that I was like, that was stupid. You got to talk about this new cut. But a ton of great features on here too. This is one of the best Scream Factory releases, period. Like, it's
the best of the year, I think.
Absolutely. Great stuff. And last one.
Isn't that thing like 4 discs too?
Yeah, it's a ton of discs. It's like, it's more discs than I've ever seen from them. It's 4 discs. Blu-ray special features, Blu-ray original and shush cut, 4K shush cut, 4K ultra. So you get
both cuts in 4K.
Yeah, they didn't put them on the same disc, which, you know, I mean, not to slag on Shout Factory, but you know, they gotta save a penny here and there. That's not necessarily their MO to put them on multiple discs. So the fact that you get the shush cut on its own disc is great.
I wonder if that was a Flanagan choice, knowing that he loves physical media.
I would guess, if I had to, I would guess that he might have been like, "Come on, guys, let's do it this way." So hats off to him for that. But I'm really excited for him too, and I hope more people get to check out the shush cut. If you were just so on the movie, watch the black and white sound effects only cut, and I think you're gonna like it more. That's just my guess. And last one, this is just a sort of an ephemeral, but this Colt 45 show from Warner Archive. Really interesting in the wake of something like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where we see Bounty Law. I'm not saying Bounty Law is based on this. I know it's more based on, like, I think it was Wanted Dead or Alive, this Steve McQueen show. But this is a similar kind of show. It's a black and white Western show with lots of great guest stars, and they've done a really spectacular job with it. It's one I didn't bring up on my box sets list, and I was like, I probably should have brought this up because they are all 67 episodes of this show.
Jeez.
And it's beautiful. Warner doesn't do a bad job when it comes to transfers. So definitely a show that's worth checking out if you're a fan of, if Bounty Law got you even the slightest bit interested in, you know, Western TV shows.
Right.
This is worth checking out. Anyway, that's all I got. I'm sorry to go on and on about that.
No, you could have gotten another 40 minutes and I would have been happy. I think Warner Archive did like 3 or 4 of those this year.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I mean, first off, it's amazing for any boutique to look at a Western TV show from the 50s and say, we're going to remaster 67 episodes of this and put it on Blu-ray. No one else is doing that.
Yeah, it's nuts. I just got, is this Shenandoah, I think? Yeah. I just got that in the mail. I want to check that out. Yeah, their commitment to some of these older Western TV shows. Clearly, there's an audience there. There's people that collect that stuff, because otherwise they wouldn't do it. But I got to say, it's definitely caught my interest. You know, there's some good stuff and some great guest stars in these older TV shows. It's just a wonderful time for character actors and guest stars like Rick Dalton does in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. You're just seeing all these actors like, oh my God, he's in this or she's in this. That's amazing. So really fun discovery territory for TV shows.
Well, we've reached the end of our segment. To put it on like a button on the end of it, it's the end of the year. Who is a dream guest you'd love to see on Pure Cinema next year?
I mean, okay, Richard Linklater is definitely somebody we've wanted on the show forever. I'm trying to think. We have, I mean, you know, there's people like Scorsese is like obviously whatever, like we'll never get him, but that'd be amazing. Right. But like Linklater feels like we could almost maybe get him, you know, or like a Soderbergh, we could almost maybe get him, you know, and it'd be great to have him
promoting a couple movies next year. Who knows?
I know. I mean, you never know if you can get in touch. We're just not running in the circles of certain publicists. Right. And we could, if we wanted to, I guess we could try and really aggressively figure that stuff out. We're just like maybe too lazy about it to really dig in. But, you know, we've had a lot of people on that we, you know, didn't expect to have on.
Right.
And having Quentin on like 7 or 8 times has been kind of ridiculous. So, you know, we just kind of feel spoiled in some respects. But yeah, I mean, those two are big ones. I mean, I'm trying to think if we have some other dream guests that I'm blanking on at the moment, unfortunately, but Linklater is like huge. We just love him so much and we'd love to talk to him. I'm sure he'd probably be bored talking to us, but he seems a little bored in a lot of interviews I hear with him. But I just adore his filmmaking. I still think he's one of the great living filmmakers. And even though Hitman didn't make my top 10 films of the year, I still was really entertained by it and really loved that he has that deal. And I want to see what he does next. The only thing I hate is that Netflix doesn't do shit to promote their movies. And so something like my number 1 movie of the year, Rebel Ridge, gets no promotion at all and is like for me, just a stunning film by Jeremy Saulnier. I just thought that was crazy good. And, we were just super bummed that they didn't even play it at the Egyptian here in LA so we could go check it out, because it'd be a wonderful crowd movie. Anyway, if we could get Linklater or Soderbergh, that'd be incredible. And maybe we'll get lucky at some point. It will happen. We'll see. I don't know.
All that to selfishly transition to say that for my Thursday night show, you have been one of my dream guests. You were somebody that I've respected for far too long to not have on the show. And so to be able to finally do this is a literal dream come true. So thanks for hanging out.
Man.
I guarantee you over the next week, I'm going to be getting all kinds of comments saying that you're one of the best guests that people have had on here. So thank you so much.
I don't know how to handle stuff like that. That's super kind of you. And it's been so nice to see you do what you've done in terms of community building, like on a level that I just am not capable. I'm just not capable of that. I can't. I like to interact with people, and I try to interact with people as much as I can on social media, but you have just gone above and beyond with what this community you've created here at Disconnected. And on top of that, and I say this to people who care all the time. I'm like, Ryan is the guy that I go to when I have questions about physical media. And I try to keep track of as much as I can, but these days I lose track of a lot of things, and you always have the answer on the spot. Whenever I text you, you're like, nope, this is what's happening with that. Right. Nope, that's whatever. Like, you always know. And I just love how committed you are to it, the hobby, and how far you've gone with it. And the fact that you've gone into doing your own stuff for these labels, which I know has not been necessarily easy in terms of life work balance for you. But that said, I'm so excited for you, and maybe even a little jealous that you found the time and the way to work with so many labels, and that I'm sure 2025 is going to be as busy as ever for you moving forward.
A little too busy, maybe.
Yeah, that's the only thing about it, unfortunately. But, hats off to you for everything you've done, man. And I'm honored to be on the show, and I would really like to do it again. I'll try and get special permission from my better half to do another one at some point, because it's been just a delight. Honestly, it's been a little bit of if I'm honest, like, being alone for the holidays has not been my favorite year, and this has been something I've been looking forward to all week, and it totally lived up to the hangout that I needed, honestly.
Incredible.
So thank you so much for having me.
This is a lot. Obviously, it's somebody that I've listened to for years. I mean, we talked earlier about discoveries, and for people that have followed you, like, I don't know how hipster this is going to sound, but when people now say back in the day, they're talking like when Just the Disc was at its peak. But I'm going to say back in the day, from back in the day, when all you were known for was Discovery List at the end of the year. Like, that was the big thing. Everybody went to you, and you just had a little website. Yeah. There's so many times that I just read those lists and went, well, shit, my watch list just exploded. And I mean, so many films that I've watched because you've mentioned it offhandedly. And one of my favorite parts of this year was browsing a video store with you by my shoulder, looking at films and just going, this doesn't have a Blu-ray release. Why the hell not? Let's look into this one. Let's discuss it. That
was great. CD Trader you're talking about was wonderful to hang out with you. I hope you can come back at some point, because I'd love to hang again. That was just wonderful. But yeah, no, that was great. That was a great day. Hanging at CD Trader with you and Jeremy, going to get lunch afterward was a highlight. All that stuff was wonderful. And yeah, it's been wonderful to see. I certainly would never try to take any kind of ownership over Film Discovery's lists, but I will say it has been wonderful for me to see that it's become a thing. Like, people are doing top 10 lists and Discovery's lists. Screen Slate has just an incredible amount of these Discovery's lists, and I'm the first one to steal from these. Like, in fact, I'm full up saying that I stole one from one of the Screen Slate lists for our Discoveries episode, because I'm just like, there's too much good stuff on these. I just love that everybody's doing it. Everybody's keeping track, and that's important, because I really think it helps continue the ongoing conversation about not just new films. New films get plenty of love, but older films, and what people are checking out, and what are the things that you're surprised maybe somebody hasn't seen, and maybe that makes you feel less embarrassed about admitting you haven't seen The Fucking Holiday or whatever the hell you haven't seen, and that you're going in and being open and finally checking out those movies that you haven't checked out. I just think all that stuff is wonderful for the ongoing love of movies, and keeping the conversation alive about older films. And that's what I'm really all about at the end of the day.
Fully agreed. If you are a fan of conversations like this, I'd love to have you in the Discord. Join the Patreon, the link in the description below. It's kind of wild how, even during this show tonight, there's been tons of messages posted over there. So it's a bustling community. We'd love to have you. But other than that, all I can say is thanks for ending the year on a high note. This has been like a dream month. I had Will, I had Joel from Scarecrow Video, I had Aaron from Criterion Now, Cinema Journeys, and ending on you. That's a pretty damn high note.
Yeah, and Joe, you had Joe from Vinegar Syndrome too. Not this month, but also a great interview. Yeah, really good stuff, man. Keep up the great work. I know it's taken its toll, and I know you're a family man. I know it takes you away from your family, and that's that's difficult. And that's so kind. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Flickering Waves. It's tough. As family people, you have to really find that way to balance. And sometimes the personal movie stuff takes over a little bit, and maybe you feel bad about it, but you are doing a lot for this community and for people in general. And I think, what you do is a highlight of their week, just doing this stuff consistently for 3 years and almost never missing a week, dude. I could never do that. I just couldn't. I know 100% there's no way I could do it. So hats off to you for all the work you've done to keep track of everything that's going on and be my ultimate source for physical media information. Keep going if you can, but I certainly wouldn't blame you if you lost a step here and there. But you haven't in all the years that I've known you. So again, congrats on everything you're doing.
Thanks. Here's to a big year for Pure Cinema and Just the Dis, and more from both of us to come. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Everybody, thank you for watching, making the interaction fun tonight.
Absolutely.
And I guess for the last time I can say this, we'll see you next year. That corny joke.
Happy 2025.
See y'all. Thank you for watching The Disconnected. On the way out, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, that you've liked the video, and that you've copied the link to be able to share with someone else that may appreciate this.
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
Thank you for listening. To hear more shows from the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, please select the link in the description.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather, now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Imagínate escuchar tu canción favorita como si fuera la primera vez. Te presentamos el totalmente nuevo y reimaginado Nissan Kicks con sonido Bose Personal Plus y bocinas en la parte superior de los asientos para crear una experiencia 360. Jamás has escuchado algo así. Reimagina tu música y tu forma de manejar. Descubre el totalmente nuevo y reimaginado Nissan Kicks en nissanusa.com. Función disponible. Bose es una marca registrada de The Bose Corporation.